Ah, hello everybody. Sorry for the late start. Welcome to this Star Trek Live. I'm just going to start calling these Star Trek Live whenever I have Jim Frasca on. Spoiler alert, he is my guest. So it's just another Star Trek live stream. Jim, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the general public, that'd be great. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but there you are.
Whoa, there I am. Hello, my name is Jim Frasca, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me late for dinner. I've known Adam for, I don't know, going on 10, 12 years now, somewhere around there. We used to work on short films a lot in college and became really good friends. And Adam is actually the very reason that I got into Star Trek. Although he likes TOS the most, and I like between TNG through Voyager are my favorite series between that time frame. So yeah, that's who I am. Just a Trekkie.
Well, I can't say I like TOS. I like the movies. Because
Fair
let me
enough.
tell you, having now been watching TOS in the background quite a bit lately, there are a lot of terrible episodes of TOS. Uh, there are a lot of terrible episodes of TOS. But like Voyager, uh, for every terrible episode, there'll be like 3 or 4 like episodes where I'm like, oh, that's not very good. And then all of a sudden there'll be one that is absolutely phenomenal in every way, shape, and form. So yeah, it's lucky that it benefits from being an episodic series. The one that I have been enjoying the most, surprisingly, is even though I've kind of fallen out of it because now they're in the Xindi arc. Is Star Trek Enterprise? I'm gonna have to stop now, and I'm gonna have to wait and just start over. I think because I am now so completely behind on the TV airing of Star Trek Enterprise that I'm just like, you know what? There's no point. There's no point until season 4. Uh, getting back into that.
Yeah, no, I agree. We were talking about this before, actually, a couple days ago, um, with Picard ending and a lot of the new shows not being really all that good. We both went back and started watching Enterprise again. And from my memory, before we went back and watched it, I said, like, I wasn't a huge fan of Enterprise because the Xindi War is not great.
You see, I love the Xindi War. I do.
Oh, see, I
That
think it's one
to
of
me,
the weakest.
season 3 is where Star Trek Enterprise gets amazing.
I
However, that being said, I found myself enjoying seasons 1 and 2 more than I thought I was going to
I
enjoy
agree.
them.
I agree.
I still think it's not phenomenal, but I couldn't say that I was hating it. Like there's this one episode, and I think it's in season 2, where T'Pol gets mind raped by these Vulcans that have embraced their emotions.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is a good episode. This is really good. I cared about what was going on. I understood where T'Pol was coming from.
Yep.
Uh, and then I love the arc that came out of it,
Yeah.
where she kind of got a Vulcan STD. It was very clearly a commentary on the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah, and I actually I'm like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 episodes past that. I do think it is in season 2.
Yeah,
And they refer back to it, and the Vulcan High Command
yeah,
finds out that she did a mind meld, and they like want to ban her.
yes,
And it's like,
yeah,
she didn't do this voluntarily. She was raped.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's essentially
it
what it
it's the
was.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
And I do find it funny though how there's there are episodes where like a Vulcan mating with a human. That'll be the day.
Unheard of.
Yeah, unheard of, right?
Unheard of.
And I'm like, yeah, that stuff is funny, and that's I think the Enterprise's greatest strength is that it literally takes everything that we're so used to in Star Trek and says, nah, this is how it happened.
Yes,
And I think
there's
that's one of its greatest strengths. I remember there's this one episode where they're on this mining planet,
Yep.
and they have to use the transporter to get them out of there because of this storm that was coming in or something along those lines.
Yep.
And how
Yep.
terrified everyone was of having to use the transporter, and I'm like, that's funny.
There's another
It was also
episode.
an interesting episode. I just didn't like the ending. Uh,
Well, because Hoshi in that episode, she was like hallucinating things or something,
yeah,
and
she was put in
I,
stasis essentially. It was all in her head.
yeah.
It was all in her
And
head.
I thought they did that better with TNG when Barkley got stuck in the
Mm.
transporter.
Hmm.
That I thought was handled much better.
Well, I just watched an episode where it was like there were these two, and this is what was driving me nuts about it, and I did not like this episode at all. Um, where Archer finds these two aliens that are like fighting each other like mad. One of them hijacks the Enterprise and like puts like an organic bomb towards where the warp core is. And the reason why they did that is because there's another race of them that is that's not their religion, and that it's all a war over religion for these people, right? And then eventually they bring them back to their home planet, and their home planet's been annihilated. It's been completely destroyed over a war of religion. And I was laughing at that. I was genuinely laughing at that because I was like, Star Trek TOS did that already and did it way better with
Right.
the episode with the split faced, one side's black, one side's white, and how people with the black on the left side hate the people with the black on the right side. And that episode ends with them finding their planet completely destroyed over a race war. Now, what I find interesting, genuinely interesting, and this is the only redeeming thing from that episode, in my humble opinion, is that they updated what it was about. Well, in the 60s, it was all about race. Race was the big thing. The civil rights
Yeah.
movement was happening while that was going on. That was the thing. So they made it about physical appearance.
Yep.
By the time Enterprise was coming out, it was religion.
Well, so it
It was
has to be near
no, it was
9/11.
Islam. Quite frankly, that's
Yeah,
what it was. It
it
was
had to be
Islam.
near 9/11.
Yeah,
It's like 2001 to 2004.
it was around then. We were certainly in the Iraq War by then,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I get it. But there are several episodes of Enterprise where I can feel that the writers were just like, we have Star Trek burnout right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, both of us criticized that with the new shows with Discovery, they made a new timeline, and we didn't like that because it's like you have 40 years of established lore already with like 15 movies or 10 movies. But at the same time, like I get it, they wanted to do a refresh because they have 40 years and 11 movies already made in this universe in this timeline.
Right.
But you can go to different quadrants and timelines like Enterprise and Voyager. And I want to say before we change the topic about things that Enterprise, foreshadowed into the future. I don't know if they knew that at launch when they, did the first episode. Their weapons officer is Lieutenant Reed, Malcolm Reed. He makes an alert system called the Reed Alert, which eventually
Turn into Red Alert.
becomes Red Alert. And that doesn't happen until season 2 either. But it's like I love those little like we the viewer know exactly what that's going to turn into in another 15 years, 20 years, or not even. But like we know that Read Alert, it's not Read Alert, it's Red Alert.
Oh yeah, there's some of that I do like. In my humble opinion, the best stuff that I've seen of Star Trek thus far has been Shran. Everything Shran is in is always good. And then I love the Vulcan politics. I didn't
Yes.
think everybody loves their Klingon politics from TNG and Deep Space Nine especially, and I do too. Don't get me wrong, but
Let's talk about someone else.
the Vulcans are interesting as hell, especially at that
Yeah.
period. They are almost unbelievably racist.
Well, and that's the thing too, because like they say that they're so enlightened, and like in every other show that we've seen,
Yeah.
they are. But then you have this enlightened race, and I think that's why Shran works so well.
Yeah.
Is because he is like he doesn't filter himself at all. He says
No,
what's on his mind,
Shran is
and it turns out
wonderful.
he's the guy that's right.
Yeah, Shran is wonderful.
Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah,
Oh,
amazing.
chef's kiss.
I can't remember his name, but the guy that's the essentially the
Vulcan
ambassador,
ambassador.
the Vulcan ambassador there.
I can't remember his name either. He's
That
amazing though.
actor knows how to play a Vulcan very well,
Yeah.
which I can say more than T'Pol. The actress that plays T'Pol, especially in season 1, made me go, "Oh my god, she is the worst actress on the face of the planet." And then I
Yeah.
found out some of the backstory behind that, and I actually don't think it's her. I think it's the directors and the writers of the show not knowing how to properly write a Vulcan.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
where it went because hearing the actress talk about it, being like she was told to act this way,
Well,
uh,
how are you supposed
and I
to
was
suppress your emotions, but then be disgusted by human smell and behavior and food and
well,
not want to
that's just it. You
social?
can't top Spock, and you can't top Leonard Nimoy and Mark Leonard. Leonard Nimoy, of course, was Spock. Mark Leonard, of course, was his father,
Yeah,
Sarek.
sir. Yeah.
Those two nailed
Are Vulcans.
They are Vulcans.
They are Vulcans.
They knew how to play a Vulcan. And the second place goes to the guy who played Tuvok. Tuvok
Tim
did very
Ross.
well. Admittedly, though, I haven't been watching Voyager. I haven't been watching it because usually by the time I can watch it, it's about halfway over. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna leave it on mute, and then when Enterprise starts, I'll turn it back on. But
Yeah, I agree. Tuvok, I think, was the last good Vulcan that we've had. I think the guy that's playing Spock in Strange New Worlds. I know you're not watching it.
no, I have
Again,
no opinion on that because I haven't been
they're
watching
they're
it.
doing the same thing as T'Pol. They're telling him like, no, you have emotions, but you have to suppress them. And it's like, but then the emotions still come out. The emotion can't come out,
Well, that's
and
what I
that's the issue.
that's what I really liked about Leonard Nimoy, and I think it's a testament to Leonard Nimoy more than anything else, and how well he was able to do it. He was able to do a lot with just his eyes.
I agree, and I think that's
And I mean that's
Tim Russ too.
all throughout TOS and all throughout the movies. But even in TOS, I'd say it's just as good. It is really interesting watching The Cage, though. Are you familiar with The Cage, the original pilot to Star Trek?
That that is actually what Strange New
Yeah,
Worlds
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
immediately after the Cage.
yeah.
So yes, I
I
am
don't
familiar
think they
with it.
followed The Cage very well at all. But the original pilot, the OG pilot with Captain Christopher Pike.
Yep.
If you see Spock in that, he is unbelievably angry. He
Hmm.
actually kind of acts a little bit more like Worf from from TNG, where
Confused?
he's not so much angry. Well, I'm sorry, he's not so much emotional like Worf, but he's got like that very serious tone and everything, and he's laying down the rules. These are the rules. This is how we need to follow it, and
Right.
it's very
Gotcha.
serious, very stern, and that happens in the second pilot too, the first one with Kirk. That's in
Mhm.
there as well. So it took him a little bit. But
The same
if
thing could be said about Data too, though.
well,
In the first couple
Data,
episodes,
I think Data can get
Brent
away
Spinner
with it a
paid
little
him
more.
with. He smiled, he whistled, he was curious. Like
Yeah.
he's always been curious, but he smiles in the first episode. It's like, that's not
I
Data.
think Data is a little bit more forgiving though, just because he's learning and there's that excuse throughout it. My issue is when it gets to the movies and you have Star Trek Insurrection, and for some reason he has forgotten everything that he's learned from TNG. And he's like, "How do
Yeah.
you play?" And I'm like, "Come on, Data. Come on, Data. You have
Do you
been to the
know
holodeck so many times."
how many times did you play Sherlock Holmes? Come
Exactly,
on.
exactly. Come on, the Moriarty episodes are fantastic.
Oh, Moriarty.
There's
Yeah.
some of my favorite holodeck episodes.
Oh
Um,
yeah, when what's his face like thinks that he convinces the whole crew that he got out of the
that he got
holodeck
out of the holodeck.
and it
That was
was just
great.
they're all in the holodeck.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
an
that was wonderful. I
amazing
loved
episode.
that. That was wonderful, and it
Amazing.
fits with what the real quote unquote Moriarty would do
Right, because he's an evil
because he's
mastermind.
an evil mastermind. I absolutely love that. Though I will say this, and I think Star Trek TNG and especially Voyager do a few too many something goes wrong with the holodeck
Yeah.
episodes.
Yes. I agree. Especially
Yeah,
Voyager.
yeah, and which is why on freaking Deep Space Nine, which by the way, it's now season one. Season one is starting, so like they finished. They
Oh,
finished. TV just finished Deep Space Nine, so we're back to season one. So they started over.
oh, they just loop it.
Yeah, they just loop it. They
Got
play
it.
every episode in order and then loop it. Man, is season one rough.
Yeah. Well,
Season
I
one
mean,
is really rough of Deep Space
it's the
Nine.
equivalent of Riker needs to grow his beard.
It
So
100%
does
is.
Cisco, and Cisco needs to shave his head.
I was laughing with Paul, who's another big tricker, who I work with, and we were both laughing. I was like, this show doesn't get good until Cisco gets the beard.
Hmm.
It doesn't. Yeah,
And the
it's
show doesn't get really good until they get to Defiant.
yes. Well, when Worf shows up, it gets really good.
That's season 3 or
I think
4,
that's
I think.
three. I think that's three.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. So
I love
it's been
Worf.
interesting. I've been very happy to watch Star Trek. I can't wait till things kind of calm down here and I can finally sit down and be like, you know what? I'm actually going to sit down and watch Enterprise from beginning to end again. And
Yeah, that's
I'm really going to revisit it because that's honestly because of how much I'm enjoying it. Regardless, I'm really looking forward to seeing it again, and I'm kind of dreading watching Voyager again because those really are the two shows that I'm like, I know nothing. It's like I thought I did, and then all of a sudden I was watching some episodes, and I'm like, I don't remember this at all. So I
it's
feel like I'll just be coming back to square one.
it's sad. You know, you hit the hammer on the nail with the fact that Voyager, every 3 episodes you get to this really, really good episode, but you got to deal with 3 episodes that are kind of garbage, let's be honest. Uh,
I would say that. Well, actually, you know what? I won't say that. I don't think they're garbage because to me, and
Mediocre,
this
I
is
think,
why
is a proper
I
word.
think they're boring.
Yeah, they're average. They're
Yeah,
mid.
because because to me that's what's entertaining about TOS is that when their episodes are bad, they are hilariously
They're
bad.
so bad they're good. You don't get that with
Yeah,
Voyager. Voyager,
and you don't.
they're
It's
just not good.
the only bad episode of Voyager that I remember laughing at, like actually like laughing at and having a good time watching it because of how bad was it was Threshold.
Which
Which is the one where it was that's the one where I think Paris starts turning into a lizard
oh my, and he
thing.
mates with Janeway.
Yes,
Uh,
that was the dumbest thing. And I was also watching an episode recently where the half Klingon girl,
Balana.
yeah, she goes into heat for some reason
Yep.
because of a Vulcan,
Yep.
and I'm like, this is the cringiest thing
Yep.
I've seen in a while. Like this to me was like this is a fanfic
Yeah.
brought to life on the screen. Like this
Oh,
is
I
a
believe it.
smut fanfic brought into life on the screen.
I
Um,
will say though, from Voyager comes, if not my favorite character, probably in my top 3, because my top 3 are probably all very similar. The Doctor in Voyager, I think, is some of the best writing in all
oh
of
yeah,
Star Trek.
you really like the Doctor.
I think he's some of
Yeah,
the best like natural character progression over 7 seasons.
he's definitely better than Seven of Nine.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah, he's more enjoyable because him and Seven of Nine go through a very similar arc if you really get
it's
down to
exactly the
it.
same thing. Finding their humanity.
Yeah, yeah.
That's their arc. Which, and I know you haven't seen Picard, but I thought it was really stupid when, all of Seven's life she's been trying to, regain her humanity,
Her
and then
humanity.
at the
Yeah,
end of Picard season 3, she's like, I my name's not oh my goodness. Oh, why am I blanking on her name? Aniata or something like that. Oh, I feel bad. She says that that's not my name. My name is Seven of Nine. And it's like, what? You've had 20 years of character progression just to throw it out the
yeah.
window?
Yes.
So they still don't
I
know what to
have.
do with this character, and it's sad. Hugh was in 1 episode, and he had a better character arc than all of 7 to 9, in my opinion.
See, I don't like the Hugh episodes.
Wha-
I really don't like them.
I don't agree with the
I like.
outcome.
I'm
I
sorry.
like
I'm
him
sorry.
though.
I disagree. I disagree. What I said was bullshit. I loved the very first episode with him. I love the dilemma that raised,
Yes,
and I always laugh and say if that was Cisco, he would say "fuck the Borg."
he would have annihilated.
If that was Jellicoe, he would have said "fuck the Borg."
He would have just annihilated them, no question.
However, I don't like any of the other episodes he's in. I believe he's also in one with Lore. He's in one with Lore, I
I
think.
know he's back in Picard, which I did think
Yes.
that was a waste of such a good character. I do vaguely remember him coming back for one other episode as well. Yeah. The first episode is what I'm talking about. That episode I thought was phenomenal. I thought his character arc, although rushed, was very good. I I, I, I
Yep.
can't say that it wasn't. And
Yep.
they've had Seven of Nine. Seven of Nine joined in season 3 of Voyager. And so that means they had 4 seasons of her there and now 3 seasons of Picard, and they still don't know what to do with her after 7 seasons.
And it's too bad too because I fucking love Janeway,
I love
and I'm
Janeway.
like, and I sit there and I'm like, man, what they could have done
I would
with her
I
character.
would have loved a whole episode that was just her looking for coffee.
Looking for
I would have loved
coffee.
it.
That would have been amazing.
I'm here for
In
it.
fact, you know what? I would have made that because to me, what I would have done is I would have done Voyager. Getting into this territory now. If I were to have made Voyager, I would have made the first season almost completely about the tension between the Maquis crew and the Federation crew, and I would have had that been the at least the character confrontation throughout the entire thing. The actual plot would not be them trying to get home or them exploring. It would be them trying to find an M-class
To
planet
settle down.
that they can say this is where we can call base.
I agree.
This could make this our base camp. And then I honestly, in other seasons, I would have had an entire arc, a mini arc with Janeway, and even the rest of the crew being like, "We gotta find coffee."
That would have been an amazing
That would have been
subplot.
hysterical because there's that one episode of Voyager where Janeway goes, "There's coffee down there," and the look of glee on her face, and I'm like, "That's funny. That's funny. It's a little nice character moment.
Yep.
I enjoy that. I wish there was more of it."
I do too. I love, when they finally, speaking about Janeway and how much I like Janeway, I love when they finally make the connection with Barclay back in the Alpha Quadrant. And like one of the first messages that she gets back is her fiance married someone else. And that moment
Yes, yeah.
of her, she's so sad, she's so heartbroken, but she can't show it to the rest of the crew because she's the captain. I thought,
Well, she also, I remember in previous episodes too, she was like, I hold faith
yes,
in the chance that when we get back, he will still be
and
there."
her dog, yeah,
And then that happens, and it's
it's
gone.
gone. Which
Yeah.
which led into a great character development of her. And speaking of the holodeck,
Hmm.
that guy in the holodeck, Finnegan, I think his name is.
Yeah.
I really liked a lot of that too.
Yeah. I remember some of that. I do remember some of that, but I do remember the Barclay episodes. Voyager, ironically, is the only episodes with Barclay that I enjoy. I really don't like Barclay in
Oh, I do,
TNG at
I
all.
do. I
Every episode he's in, I go, "Oh, come on,
I
Barclay."
the fact that the reason that I don't like it is because at the end of every episode he, gets the, therapy support and he gets the self-confidence just to go back to the beginning of the next
Just to go
episode and
back
it's
to
all
square
gone.
one, and it's all
It's like
gone.
what
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened, dude?
Yeah.
But I
Like
agree.
like there's almost no string continuity. So I'm like, Jesus, come on. Come
Yeah.
on, guys.
Yeah. But I did like him more in Voyager. I think he was more developed.
Well, because in Voyager he's actually a competent guy.
Right.
Like he's still awkward and he's still weird, but like you can see how driven he is to try to figure this out. And
Yes.
that's entertaining to
And
me.
he's almost
That's
not almost. He is obsessed with the Voyager crew.
yeah. And I that's interesting to
Yeah.
me. That's like I'm like
And,
this
the fact that he's
is what I
in
like.
several episodes, and he's always working on the same task. It's the same arc. Whereas, when he's in TNG, typically it's just, oh, we need an engineering guy to be in this episode.
Right.
Doesn't
Right.
matter what the
Right.
engineering problem is, Barclay's doing it.
But Barkley is doing it. Yeah, yeah.
I had Barkley's blonde hair, so I did a couple years ago. I went as Barkley for Halloween.
Oh my God, that is meta.
Yeah,
That is like no one is gonna get that
I know. No one did.
unless they are a
No one did.
die-hard tricker.
They're like, "Oh, hey,
Oh
Data, how's
man,
it going?" I'm like, "No, I'm Barkley."
no, I'm Barkley. Who the fuck is
They're
Barkley?
like, "Oh, you made up character?" And I'm like, "You got an OC now, an original character?" No,
No.
I was not putting the face paint on for a Halloween party. No way.
No. No.
So I said, "Okay, who's the next guy that I look like?" Barkley. Okay.
Barkley. Yeah. That would be me being like, you know, I'm gonna dress up like Jellicoe.
But see, at least Jellicoe's
For
more important.
yeah, but who the fuck other than like a die-hard tricker? Like a die-hard tricker is
No,
gonna be
no
like,
one.
oh, you're Jellicoe.
You're Captain. Is that Captain Jellicoe? All right.
Is that Captain Jellicoe?
No, yeah.
I'm in a Facebook group that somebody posted a meme. It was a meme that wasn't supposed to be taken seriously, but because it's fucking Star Trek fans, they took it seriously. He posted a picture that had a picture of Jellicoe that said, "I made the Enterprise better. You're too much of a pansy to admit it." And I was laughing at that because I was like, yeah. I mean, he did put. And then my comment to that, and this got an uproar.
Oh,
Like, oh, I thought I was about to get death threats. I said, yeah, he finally put Troy in a uniform. Enough said.
she's a member of the crew.
She's a member of the crew. She should be in a uniform. You know what's really funny though? Apparently, Marina Sirtis was fighting for that.
Oh, the whole time.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole time she's like, I should be in a uniform, not this skimpy pajama thing.
She's eye candy, and it's sad.
Even though she's not really eye candy. I mean, I think she's pretty, but she's not like I want to fuck her immediately kind of thing. Like she's not.
Well, that's the whole reason that Jerry Ryan came in too. Is 7.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why a lot of people hated her,
especially
Janeway.
Oh my god, why am I blanking?
Kate Mulgrew.
Kate Mulgrew, yeah.
She
hated her, but then they said,
"What is it? Is her name Jerry Ryan? Is that
Jerry
the
Ryan?
girl
Yeah,
who plays? Yeah. Who is still drop dead gorgeous?
Oh yeah. I think she looks great in the new show. It's just they don't know what to do with her. I think it's sad because I think Jerry Ryan's a phenomenal actor. I think she does a great job. It's just it seems like the writer's strike started 3 years ago for Star Trek.
I just don't think they know what to do. Actually, no. I don't think they knew what they do because it was headed at that time by Alex Kurtzman, and Alex Kurtzman doesn't know what he's ever doing. He doesn't know he doesn't know a thing.
Terry Matalas.
And I don't understand. He's had nothing but failures for his career, and yet he always gets these giant things. Like his other claim to fame prior to getting on Star Trek was the Universal Monsters reboot thing. Remember The Mummy?
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise and how that was going to start up a whole thing. That was him.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. Who did he sleep with?
I have to say Terry Matalas on season 3 of Picard. He was the showrunner, brand new showrunner.
That's what I've heard.
He did a really good job. This is what season 1 should have been.
Yes. And I have to admit it did pique my interest because Red Letter Media, who I genuinely give a crap about what they say about Star Trek.
I saw they posted a review.
They gave it a pretty glowing review, season 3, because like every time they came on, they would sit back and they're like, I don't know what to say because I actually liked this.
Yep.
I can't believe it. It's actually decently smart. It's decently clever. It's just a remake of The Wrath of Khan, but I don't care.
Yep. They've retconned a couple things from season 1 and 2, and it's like good. They basically acknowledging this was a stupid idea. Why did we do this? And took
I'm
it
curious.
back.
I'm curious to see it. The problem is, Jim, is that whenever I watch a show, I have to watch it full through.
Don't watch the first 2 seasons.
And I'm like, I don't want to watch the first 2 seasons of Picard at all. Oh my God, my father started watching Picard, and he quit. He quit halfway through season 1, I haven't talked to him at all about this, but he called me up. He was talking to me, and he literally said, "Where's my Star Trek?"
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the inkling to get back to the Star Trek that we knew. Discovery was not scratching that itch.
Mm-hmm.
Lower Decks is god awful. And then they say, oh,
Yeah.
Picard's coming back. How can they mess it up? He's an executive producer on the show. How can they mess this up? And they've ruined it.
Oh, of course they. Yeah.
They've ruined it. I stopped about
And
halfway through as well, but then I heard that the ending was pretty good just to find out that
well, I think we
it's
had this
a
conversation
robot.
before this. I think I said, if Star Trek Enterprise was coming out now and it was shot relatively the same way, it would have been amazing. Star Trek Enterprise wouldn't have been canceled after 4 seasons. It would have been a huge hit.
In comparison.
Because if Enterprise was coming out right now, the same writing too, I think it would have been a big.
I think
It
the
would have done much better.
downfall, and this is why I don't like the Xindi War in Enterprise, and we talked about this before, is not that it's awful writing. I don't like it when there's a doomsday thing.
I'm gonna tell
It's the
you,
CG. It was not ready. It was
yes,
groundbreaking,
I
and for the time it looked good-ish. But two CG characters out of the main five are are completely CG. Like
yes,
they did not
the
have the
insectoids.
technology, and the water creatures are also CG.
And now I will say this: you are one of the only people who don't like the Xindi arc. Um,
I don't like it when
there was
something happens to Earth and then
yeah.
that's it. Now the Federation's full in. Like, no, the whole point of the Federation is this should happen to any planet, and the Federation is all in, not just
Well,
when it happens to Earth.
I did love this episode where Archer gets these parasitic worms in his brain that causes him to completely forget his life up until he got infected with the worms every day.
Remember that one.
Like he'll lose his memory at the end of the day. Um, and T'Pol kind of becomes his caretaker and kind of like falls in love with
Yes,
him.
yes, I do remember that.
And even though he doesn't reciprocate, which I was shocked that they didn't do anything with
Yeah,
that. I was honestly happy. I was like, wow, they
I
actually took the higher,
yes,
harder road.
yeah,
And T'Pol did amazing on that too. The
yeah.
actress, she did so good at conveying somebody hiding those emotions because of her respect for him.
At that point, though,
And then
she knows what a Vulcan is too.
yeah, yeah, and I also love uh, I love the I love the concept of they see Earth destroyed, and now they have to they have to plant colonies,
Hmm.
all throughout the place, and I love that, and I loved how hardened these guys are, and how like the Federation has turned into mainly a scavenging unit more than anything else, and like I loved that, and this was just one well written contained episode, and I was like, and I gave a shit. I was like, yeah, I know we're gonna hit basically the reset button at the end of this, but I'm liking what's being done enough that I don't care.
Yes, yes.
It was a good episode. It was a really
There
good
are
episode.
definitely good Cindy episodes, like the one where they go to the ape planet and they're like making this chemical, and they're like, this chemical was used in the bomb that destroyed, 4
Mm-hmm.
million people's
Mm-hmm.
lives. And they're like, this chemical's used in everything. Like, what are you talking about? These Zindi ape creatures had no idea that their substance was being used in like chemical warfare or whatever. And
Yeah.
Archer goes in angry, like, I'm gonna destroy this base, I'm gonna kill everyone in it. And then he's just like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, these people are completely innocent. And it's not that I don't like everything about the Zindi War.
Ow.
There are definitely things that I like about it. I think that it was just too grand of a scheme, and it basically was like 2 seasons or
It was one.
1 season.
It was one because, well, for the record, somebody similar to Picard, by the way, somebody else basically took over Enterprise on seasons 3 and 4. Somebody else, um, because quite frankly, Rick Berman and especially Brennan Braga were burned out. They didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
They were like, I've had enough of Star Trek. Braga wanted to go off and make the new Battlestar Galactica stuff.
Battlestar.
Um, and And it shows because what was going to happen was because season 4 they hint at this the entire season,
Romulans.
the Romulan War. That was what season 5 was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yes, this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The viewer sees the Romulans,
I
but the
did
humans,
like
they
this
don't.
episode in season 2. In season 2, there's an episode where they run into the Romulans. I think it's season 2 where they run into the Romulans, and I do like the fact that they never show the Romulans.
Right. Yes. And
You only hear their voices because in canon,
Kirk was the
I'm not
first one.
talking. Yeah, Kirk was the first person to finally see a
Yes.
Romulan, and it was a big deal because they had pointy ears and looked suspiciously like Vulcans.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they were the first to have the cloaking technology. The Klingons did not have the cloaking technology at that time.
Yeah, well, they actually made that canon where it's like the Klingons stole everything from
The Romulans.
Yeah. Which was a big no-no because Klingons hate Romulans. Which is why they kind of did it under the table. Like, you know the bird of prey from Star Trek 3?
It looks just like
they stole
Vulcan,
it.
Yeah. Romulans,
it wasn't... It isn't in the story. It might be in the book. But in the film, it was all cut out. But they actually stole that from the Romulans, hence why it's Romulan green, and it's a warbird.
Mm-hmm.
And the Klingons just copied it.
I believe it.
Yeah, and to me, that makes perfect sense. I love that.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to steal the technology of your enemy?
Yeah, to me, species-wise as well, I like that idea. Now, I also kind of have an issue because they always say, like, by the TNG era, the Federation doesn't make warships. The Enterprise A, the one from the original series,
yes,
is a warship.
Well, they didn't know what they were doing.
It was specifically designed to be a battleship to match the Katinga class D6s the Klingons were using.
Well, they knew that they're going out for the exploration as the number one objective, but they need to be able to defend themselves. It's the same thing with Enterprise, the show, the NX-01, and how.
Which, by the way, I love the NX-01. I love the design of that. I think that is such a cool looking ship where it's like that looks like our Enterprise, but
it looks like a submarine,
but cruder.
It looks like a submarine,
and I'm like, I love this.
It's very cool.
I love how it looks. Yeah.
No, it's definitely, again, going back and rewatching it, I have a newfound admiration, especially because I have not watched Enterprise since before we watched the movies, and you were specifically saying that in the movies they make this ship look like a submarine. It's very close and compact.
Well, yeah, because in to clarify that, in the motion picture, Robert Wise and Gene Roddenberry specifically said they want to make the Enterprise look big, so they shot everything to be pretty wide open.
Yep.
And it does. It feels big. That's the point.
But then
Nicholas Meyer said, "Fuck that. I want this to look like a submarine."
Yeah.
And that was the mantra that they took going forward because Star Trek 2 was such a hit and quite frankly the motion picture wasn't. So, yeah.
But then, it harkens back to Enterprise NX-01. Okay, well, if the Enterprise refit was tiny and that could have a crew of what, like 100, 105?
Yeah.
Enterprise NX-01 only has a crew of 83. It's even smaller. It's got to be more compact.
No, I'm sorry. The Enterprise in Kirk's era can hold, I think, 300 to 400 people.
But its crew is 100 and...
Yes.
It's double the crew.
Yeah. Because the Enterprise D is significantly larger.
Yeah, the Enterprise D can hold like 3,000 or 1,500.
Yeah, it's significantly larger.
Yeah. Its crew is only a couple hundred, but it can hold 1,500. It can be a passenger ship, if need be. And quite often it was used for ambassador things like that. But the NX-01, its crew is 83 people. It's a tiny, tiny ship. The fact that it had 2 shuttle pods in it blows my mind. Like, I would have thought it would have only had 1 and a couple of escape pods.
Yeah. Well, we need to actually get onto the meat and cream of this live stream. I mean, no one's fucking watching anyway.
Cream?
But literally no one's watching.
Well, that's not good.
But Um, something interesting came out recently,
Very
and
interesting.
it just kind of came out of the blue, and I guess it makes sense why it came out, considering what Star Trek Picard season 3 was about. However, it was a pleasant surprise for me, and that was just this thing. So was it 765-874?
Yes. Regeneration.
Regeneration, and it's just this 2-minute clip, right? It's this 2-minute clip, and I'm like, okay, so we see the saucer of the Enterprise D, okay, and then we see this figure walking up. I'm like, oh my god, that's Spock. Oh my god, that's Kirk's grave. Spock is visiting Kirk's grave.
Yep.
And the tears started flowing. I gotta tell you.
Started flowing. Yes, it has to do with Picard because in Picard they bring back the Enterprise D, and everybody's like, "Well, how do they do that? It crashed in Generations. How do they do that?" And they show, well, they say that they, you know, rescued the saucer from that planet. I don't remember what planet it was. Um,
Yeah, I can't remember either.
and you know, then got the nacelles from other ships that had been discontinued. And so regeneration is the lifting up of the saucer section. Like that first shot of like the saucer section and the two cable ships in the air, that's in direct relation to what they're talking about in Picard, although it is not official canon. It is official.
No,
It is
no, this
technically
isn't this.
fanfare
This is fanfare. This is actually sanctioned fanfare from the Roddenberry
from the
Archive.
Roddenberry Archive, correct?
Yeah,
And
yes,
Otoy.
this is they're teaming up with the visual effects company essentially, who has been doing deep fake stuff with
And they've
everything
been,
essentially,
I didn't realize this, they
and
have
they've been doing a
several
lot.
videos.
They have several videos.
Yeah.
They're planning something. What they're planning, I don't quite know, and because they're all numbered, kind of weird. But um, what is clear is that one reason why they're doing this is because they teamed up with the Roddenberry Archive,
Yep.
and they've been rebuilding all of the. They've been literally from the inside out a sort of metaverse version of every Enterprise.
Oh,
The interiors of every
you
Enterprise.
know about that.
Yeah, well, of course I have been. I followed that and I got curious, like, what the fuck are these guys doing? And you know, what I liked about this is that I haven't watched Picard season 3. I know it happens in Picard season 3, but I haven't watched Picard season 3. You have no idea about this, but I do. That scene on that they film, of Spock going over to Kirk's grave, is lifted directly from, I believe, the first book in the Shatnerverse.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
I did
and
a
I'm
little
like,
bit of research.
Are they doing
too.
something with the Shatnerverse? That'd be
Yeah.
great. I would love it if they did the Shatnerverse over what we ended up getting.
And that ties back to Picard season 3, actually. Kirk is in Picard season 3.
Is it?
It's his body. His body is in
Yeah.
Picard season 3.
Did they literally just have fat Bill Shatner at 90 just lying down on a...
No, it was like a...
on a sheet? That would have been
It's
great.
like a bioscan, and so it's like it's
okay.
his skeleton with
Yeah.
his name on it.
Yeah, I don't know, because I just want to say this right now. To me, Generations, I think, is my second favorite of the Star Trek TNG movies.
Mhm.
And that being said, I still think it's one messy movie.
It is.
It's mostly nostalgia, because that was my first experience ever with TNG, was that movie. And it was because Kirk was in it.
Yeah. And that's why he's in it, to get the people that watch the TOS to watch this
It
movie.
is well. I think here's the thing with Generations that I love, genuinely love. I love the themes of Generations throughout the entire thing. You know, Picard is upset that he doesn't have a son. He doesn't have a family. The closest thing he had to a family died in that fire. I like that. So he doesn't have a generation past him,
Yep.
which I find that fascinating. The Enterprise itself getting destroyed. What's the next Enterprise going to be? That's another generation of Enterprise right there.
Yep.
And then what I love about with Kirk's first scene is him going on the next generation of Enterprises. And what does he do? He saves the day. And I also love the fact that in that opening, it's one of the few scenes in Star Trek V that I think is absolutely genius. Kirk dies alone.
Yeah, he says one day I'll die alone.
He says, on Star Trek V, he says this great line.
I knew I wasn't going to die because I'll die alone.
Yeah, he goes, and I quote, I knew I wasn't going to die because you were here. I'm going to die alone. And he dies saving the Enterprise D. He's all by himself. He does the right thing, too, in my opinion, where he goes, no, you're captain of the ship. You actually know the ship better than I do. I have more experience, but you're the captain. Let me handle this down here. You stay here. And I love that. And I love how kind of excited he is, too, about it. I'm like, this is so Kirk. The entire opening is pure Kirkness, where he's excited about the chance to save the day again. And that sort of swashbuckler, kind of guy. And I love, if Kirk wasn't in the rest of Generations, I would have been fine. Because to me, his death in the opening of Star Trek Generations is the perfect way for Kirk to go.
Yep.
As much as I love him, I don't want to see my Kirk die, but it's so it's so fitting for his character that that's how he dies. That all being said, I love the stuff where Picard finds him and he's in his home in Iowa. And suddenly he sees Butler, his old dog, and he's rediscovering himself. He's like finding bits and pieces, but he's not quite sure how they're all connecting and stuff like that. Like, I love it. I love it. And it's so Kirk.
Yeah.
Those scenes are so Kirk. And like when Picard goes up to Kirk and says, "Hey, I need your help," and Kirk goes, "Sure." He's like one captain of the Enterprise to the other. He immediately is like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. And I'm like, that's so Kirk. That's very Kirk. And I don't hate the ending. I don't hate Kirk's death in that either. Because I remember as a kid bawling my eyes out because I was like, they can't kill Kirk. This is my captain. and kudos to Bill Shatner, though. Bill Shatner, in an interview actually about what we're talking about, 7765874, admitted that he thinks that ending where he says, "Oh my," at the end didn't come out right. He wished they did another take, because I agree with him. It makes him look kind of afraid,
right,
and of death, and that wasn't the point. Bill Shatner said, and the director said, the point of that wasn't that he was scared. He was saying, "Oh my," because he's like, this is it. This is
the next adventure.
This is the next adventure. Yeah. And it just didn't quite come off that way.
No, I didn't get that when we watched it. I took it as
no, it doesn't come off that way, but I get it. And all I know is that seeing Spock going to Kirk's grave hit me right in the goddamn feels.
And it's only 2 minutes long.
And it's only 2 minutes, and I'm like, wow, the emotional powerhouse in this is astonishing.
So well done.
Because I'm like, because it made me think of like those scenes on even Star Trek V where Kirk goes, I lost a brother once. Lucky for me, I got him back. And or the scenes where he says to Spock, sometimes the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, and just the friendship that those two have and the lengths that they go through for each other. Like even in Star Trek 2, I love that little bit where Kirk is about to go on to Dr. Marcus's little space station there that's around City Alpha 5, and he's been calling him Admiral the entire time, and then when Kirk is about to leave,
says,
Spock goes, "Jim,
be careful.
be careful."
Yep. Powerful.
And I love that. I love that.
He's a Vulcan. He doesn't have emotions, or they're suppressed. When it counts, he lets that little bit, like, I care about you.
There are some really good moments of that in TOS, genuine moments like that in TOS. And one of them is on City on the Edge of Forever. They're trying to find McCoy. And after a while, they find him. And in that scene, McCoy comes out of this building and he's like, "Jim, Spock!" And they turn and they're so happy to see him. And what I love about that is even Spock runs over to him and like embraces him. He's like, "We found you. Oh my God."
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. There's a little bit of emotion there to show that they really do have a friendship. And I love in Amok Time, which is the episode which introduced the dreaded Pon farr, Spock thinks he killed Kirk. And to he's like he's back on the Enterprise. He's like, "Turn me in. I just killed my best friend and I killed my commander. I have committed the highest level of treason." And all of a sudden Kirk shows up and pats him on the shoulder and says, "I'm right here. I'm just fine." And you've got that cheesy Star Trek music playing bum, 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 in the background. And it's so 60s. And then what I love about that is Spock goes, "Jim? Jim!" And he grabs him by the shoulder, realizes what he just did, and then straightens himself out again.
It wasn't logical.
And I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. And I love that stuff, But there's something so deep about 765874. Him looking...
No,
I love him putting that badge or looking at that badge.
Yeah, he like picks it up real slow, like.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is wonderful. But this does have very Shatnerverse vibes.
Oh, it totally does. I know. I did not watch the whole interview, but they said that they have like a 10-hour interview with him, and they only put out, whatever they put out. I didn't watch the video. I feel bad. I thought I did research. I was going to surprise you with the Roddenberry Archives 3D renderings of the Enterprises. Have you looked at them?
I haven't seen any.
Oh, okay. I have the link.
I want to check these out. Okay,
I'm gonna send you the link in Skype.
Yep. I want to see those.
Now, I will say it is very finicky. It like only came out like 2 weeks ago when I said I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Why is this? I'm missing a message. So if I remember correctly, this is your favorite Enterprise. Now, what you have to do is you click on the link. You have to hit enable navigation, and then you have to wait like 30 seconds.
Okay, give me a moment. I'm pulling this up on the screen. I don't know why you just vanished.
I don't know either. Did my video?
Oh, you know why? Because you're sharing your screen. That's why you vanished. So let me pull me up.
I did not mean to be sharing my screen.
Oh, no, you're not.
No.
Why? Hold on.
Oh, no!
Why did your video go away on me?
I'm not sure. Let me turn off my video and turn it back on. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's like...
I can see me
your video
in Skype.
I can't see you at all.
Let me turn my video off.
Where the hell did you go, Jim?
Whoa, there
there we go.
Hello.
There you are. What the hell happened?
I turned my video off and turned it back on, so.
Oh, that's why. Let me get this thingy up for the. You guys don't need to see my bookmarks. Okay. Window capture. Yes. We're almost there.
So like I said, what you have to do is you have to hit enable navigation, and then it can take a couple minutes to load. It does take time. But it's pretty cool. I've been just messing around with this, and like I said, we both have gone gone and rewatched Enterprise, the 2000 show, and I've been rewatching that and being able to explore the
Mhm.
Enterprise NX-01 and then walk into his ready room, go to the Enterprise D, walk around the Enterprise D virtually. Oh, it is just so cool.
Well, yeah, that is really cool. I'm not gonna
So
lie.
if you hit enable navigation there,
Let me see. Let me see where bridge view.
above bridge view and slightly to the right,
Oh, enable navigation. That is my favorite Enterprise.
the refit.
Yes.
Yeah, I remembered. I remembered.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, Jim. That is, to me, that is the most beautiful spaceship I have ever seen
So
in anything
there you
ever.
go. Okay, so now once that's done loading, you can control it with WASD. You click in the screen, and then now with WASD, you can walk around.
What?
It is so cool.
What? Oh my god, this is
You
amazing.
can do this in almost every enterprise throughout all
Yeah,
of Star Trek.
this is what they have been doing.
It just released like 2 weeks ago. It's in a beta, so it is very clunky, but oh my goodness, is it so well
Now,
done.
I want to be clear. This is the NCC 1701 refit, not the NCC 1701A refit. This is the one from the motion picture in Wrath of Khan.
Correct. Correct. It
Which is so cool.
specifically says Wrath of Khan on it.
Yeah, okay. Because the one from Enterprise, the walls were wider. They were brighter. They specifically gave them a little bit darker of a paint job.
You can go into
at Nicholas
NX-01 if
Myers.
that's what you're talking about from Enterprise.
I'm not as familiar with that, but oh my god!
Yeah, it is so cool. Hit O.
Oh?
Yeah. You can change the FOV because your FOV is really high, really low right now. So the field of view.
Oh, okay. I can crank
Change that to like 100. It'll be a little bit. It'll be a little bit
Apply.
nicer on the eyes. And now you hit exit, and then click anywhere again.
Ooh.
It's a little bit easier
Oh
on the
yeah,
eyes.
Okay. I've got like super wide, super fisheye.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh, I didn't even see the navigational array. I just tested it to make sure it worked. Wow. It is
I'm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You can sit in the chair
What?
too.
I'm going to. Yes. Jim, I live for this shit.
I know. I know. When I saw that you could actually walk around, I was like, I gotta surprise Adam with this. I'm glad that you knew of it but didn't
Yeah,
do it.
I haven't done it yet because I didn't think it was like out yet. I didn't think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Now here's the
Because
thing.
it was announced in 2021 that they were working on it, but it only announced released after the last episode of Picard.
Now here's the thing too that I think I know they want to do. I think they want to do the entire Enterprise. Like you could go,
Yes.
like you can go into the elevator.
That is the end goal. Currently, what you can do is you can go on all of the bridges.
Yes.
And the most famous ready rooms. So, like I said, I think NX-01 has the ready room and Enterprise D has the ready room.
This isn't where Uhura sits. Uhura sits over here.
I thought she was on the right.
She sits here. This is where Uhura sits. This is the communications. This here is where Spock sits.
That's science, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then usually...
Oh, and Chekhov's all the way to the left, right?
Usually Chekhov is here. He's in this seat. But in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that's Savick. And then Sulu sits here.
Right.
And then God knows who sits over here. They're usually dead by the end of the episode anyways. And then no, wait. Yeah, this is Chekhov right here.
This is where Chekhov
This is where Chekhov sits in Wrath of Khan. Yeah.
Yeah. But how cool is this?
And
like,
this is where Spock sits in the motion picture. Is right here.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
So the reason that they started doing this, according to the Roddenberry Archive, is because when they destroyed these sets and realized that what they were going to be doing with Picard season 3, they had nothing to go off of. when the set was taken down in, whatever, 1996 or whatever, that was it. They didn't keep any records of it. There was no dimensions, so they had to
Well,
completely build from
if I
photographs.
remember, yeah, they had photographs and a couple of blueprints, and that was about it.
Right.
Well, in fact, if I know correctly, they almost had to rebuild these sets almost after every movie because they always thought like every movie was going to be the last
That was
movie.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then there'd be one more.
So the Roddenberry
Yeah.
Archive started this not only so like fans could, get to relive these ships, but if for whatever reason another show wants to come back and they want to bring the Enterprise refit, all right, here's a 3D rendering of it. You can make it in any, 3D engine, and not only do you have the interior, but you also have the exterior. Well, reverse. Not only do you have the exterior, but now here's at least the core elements of the interiors. This is
Yeah, this
NX-01.
is the NX-01.
This is
This is
beautiful. And it really just
amazing.
shows you how cramped it is too. Look how many more computer monitors and like stations there are in essentially the same amount of space.
I need to turn down motion.
The motion blur, you can't turn it down, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the one downside, but it's because it's done in a browser.
Yeah.
It's rendering all of this in a browser,
This
so
is so freaking cool though.
it is phenomenal. And
Now hold on, do they have
Archer,
the original Enterprise NCC 7?
yes,
Yeah, get me out of
yes.
there. Let me see if I can't find that one.
You scroll on, click and drag on the bottom. They have every single Enterprise.
Yay! Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, only certain ones have the ability to do the walking around though.
What? Oh my god, dude! This is sick
Yeah,
as fuck!
different episodes throughout. So anytime there's any iteration, like for
So,
Enterprise
okay,
D,
so
there's like
there's
four
Discovery, there's
variants.
Strange New Worlds. I don't care about those. But there's the one. Oh! They have the different Enterprise, like literally, the different
Every
Enterprises.
single Enterprise that has ever been mentioned is in here currently.
What is this one? I'm curious if they did this one. No, they didn't. Okay. I was hoping that they did this one like in 2D, like really awkward 2D. That would have been really
Oh,
funny.
is that the animated series?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a 3D model still. But even I didn't
Oh
see
my
how
god, Phase
far.
2? They got Phase
Yep,
2 in there? Oh my god.
yep. That even the J.J. Abrams
Oh, hey. Oh
Enterprises
my
are in
god.
there
Look,
too.
look. There's the motion picture one.
Yeah, that's the one that I had you in.
No, here's the Wrath of Khan one right there.
I put you in the major refit. It's
Oh, okay,
in the
okay.
link.
Then what's the Wrath of Khan one? Yes, yes. You see how
I think it's just slightly
yeah,
different
yeah, it's just a
colors.
different color scheme. That's all it was.
Yeah,
And
it
then
even has the destroyed one.
I love the one from the Undiscovered Country. I
Yeah.
love that one.
I spent a lot of time in obviously the Enterprise D. I was just shocked. I literally got teary-eyed when I saw the ready room in Enterprise D.
Yeah.
This is just so
Wait,
cool.
the Enterprise it changes?
They're very slightly different, but yes. I have not really looked at all of
Oh, the
them
carpet changed. The
independently.
carpet changed.
Yeah. There's the saucer section from
There's the one from
Generations. You can't walk
Generations.
around
Oh,
it.
damn it.
Yeah. I haven't looked at anything past this.
Do they have the E?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
it
there's the E.
does. Yep, right there. Yep.
It changes from them? I didn't know it changed.
I didn't either.
Oh no, they don't have it yet.
Yeah.
Oh no, yes
So,
they do.
some
Yes
of
they do.
they might have like one variant. I think they have one variant of every ship, but only like every variant for like the key ships, like the original Enterprise, the Enterprise D, and so on and so forth. But like, tell me that is not cool. And like, if you click on the ship or the prime timeline, it gives you more information on
Yeah,
it.
that's sick
It's
as
like star dates that
oh.
it was used. It is so cool.
Don't have that one yet. Okay.
But the goal is to, yes, not only get every Enterprise, but then, Voyager, Defiant, any class,
I'm
Romulan
really
ships,
curious.
Klingon ships.
I'm really curious about the different TOS sets because I didn't know that they changed. Like I did.
Yeah, I didn't either, but like apparently it could even be just a slight change from season to
Yeah.
season that, as a viewer, we might not even noticed.
Do you know that somebody did like a major like deep fake of the motion picture where they replaced all the gray uniforms with red, blue, and yellow uniforms?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And I was watching it. It's kind of weird.
Does it like so like the engineering is yellow?
No. Kirk is yellow.
Oh, right, but
Engineering at that
back
time,
then
engineering and ensigns back
was
then
red.
was red.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yellow was a leader or command,
yeah.
and blue was still
And you know what
science.
was something about Enterprise that I just noticed recently too? Just to kind of get back to topic a little bit. Um, I just noticed in Enterprise that the stripes that they have on their shoulders are
Are there? Yeah, they're crew.
are the crew
The
colors.
position, the
Yeah, like
position.
I
Yeah,
never noticed that before.
I
I
love that.
love
It's such a
that.
small detail.
Yeah,
It's such a small detail, but like I think it, hikens back to this is before we had these shirts that were bright red colors,
yeah.
but okay, here's your uniform, and oh, by the way, it still has, your rank and uh, crew position on it.
This is so
I
cool.
I
I can spend all
I
day
know
on this
that
thing. Yeah.
I I felt so bad. Jen was actually like having a rough day the other day when I found this, and she was messaging me, and she's like, my stomach's not feeling right or something, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Would being able to tour the Enterprise D in a 3D environment help? And she got so mad, but I was like, this is
How
so
can you get
cool.
mad with that? Like that is like the greatest compliment anyone can ever say.
I know,
You know?
I know, I felt
It's like,
bad,
"Oh, do you
but
feel bad?
no,
Well, let's walk around the Enterprise set.
yeah.
Let's do that."
Let's walk around the 3D engine of the, Enterprise D. Oh, you don't like that one? Let's go to the Enterprise NX-01.
I want to see the one from the cage. Yeah, look how different the cage look. It's much more paler colors. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is like I understand now why it took 2 years for this to happen. It is like spot on.
So cool.
And when I like heard about this, I thought they had Enterprise D, Enterprise A, Enterprise NX-01. I thought that's all they
No, these
had.
guys have gone balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
There's the Kelvin timeline. They even have mirror use. Dude. Mirror Universe NX-01.
Oh, I got to find it. Give me a second.
Oh, I don't think you can go in this one though. It's just the model.
Patrick Enterprise Broken Arrow.
You got to keep going.
There's the
Alternate realities, myriad realities.
my god, dude.
Adam, they have Voyager.
I know they do. I saw that. I went past it earlier.
Wow. I didn't see Voyager on here. Oh, I gotta change the FOV. I can't do the 60 FOV. Turn the mouse sensitivity up too.
Oh,
All
there's the
right,
Kelvin
yes.
timeline. Okay.
It's
There's the mirror
past the Kelvin.
universe.
Wow, there's Tuvok Station right there.
Mine's not loading. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, that's and again, like I get it though, because there's so many different ships that are like available and just on a whim's notice, but like this is just so cool. I,
This
I
is
get why it took so
Yeah,
long.
me too. Me too. This is really cool, and I'm very appreciative that they did this. And I love the fact that this is like officially sanctioned by the Roddenberry estate. Or
Correct.
the
It's
Roddenberry
not
Archive, which I don't know. I don't
archive.
know if you're familiar with the Roddenberry Archive, but they release a lot of cool stuff, like a lot of behind the
Yeah,
scenes footage and pictures
I
and
didn't
stuff
know
like
about
that.
them until you showed me the Otoy, but like I've kind of deep dived into them and
Yeah, yeah,
started watching some of their
yeah.
stuff and looking at it. but mostly looking at the ships and just being like, oh.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Now this thing is so cool, and like think about this too. Like there aren't that many games that are coming out that are Star Trek. But what if they said, look, we have all of the ships already, the
Yes.
ships in the Unreal Engine. Here you go. Yeah, there's going to be a licensing fee, but I feel like this would give a reason for a developer to make a game and do it
Well,
right.
here's the thing. You know how in War of Rights, the game that I absolutely obsess over and can't stop playing, how we have regiments and stuff like that. Just imagine kind of that, but with Star Trek. You could have a crew.
Yes. Well, and I want to get into this eventually. There's a game called Bridge Command, which came out a couple years ago. They finally brought it over to PC, and that's what it is. You take one position, either navigation, captain, engineering, and weapons, and each person plays one position, and they put you in either a TOS timeline or a TNG timeline, and you have to like get out of these situations and explore the universe. It's really cool. I've only played like a couple missions because you really should play it with other people because it's also like a role-playing game. And now that it's on PC and it's cross compatible, I really want to get that and play it with you because it just sounds so
Yeah,
much
you've been
fun.
trying to get me to play this game for a long
Yeah.
time, and the biggest reason why I haven't is just because I don't have any time. That's
Oh,
that's
I
been
know.
it, and I've been occupied with other stuff. But Jesus, mother, is this cool? This is so
Yes.
cool. Um, I'm glad you showed this to me. I wasn't expecting you to show me this. I was expecting it to be something else. Um, but this is really cool. Now, so yeah, all I can say is 765874 is really cool,
Really good.
really good.
Yes.
The actor that played Spock is uncannily like Spock.
Correct.
Um,
Now, there is a lot. I know that there is a lot of CG. I did watch some of the behind the scenes, but like the
yes.
the the base, the person that was the foundation, strikingly looked like Nimoy.
Particularly, I'm sorry, particularly TOS. Not TOS, sorry. TMP, the motion
Oh,
picture Spock.
speaking of
Hmm.
why I said that I thought it was Resurgence earlier, we were speaking of video games. We're speaking of Otoy. We're speaking of Roddenberry Archive. We're speaking of Spock.
Hmm.
A new game, Star Trek game, just released a couple days ago, actually, called Star Trek Resurgence. It's a story driven game similar to the Telltale Borderlands games.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
somehow Spock is in it. And William Riker uh, was reprised by Jonathan Frakes. He
Hmm.
lended his voice as well.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
has not reviewed well, though.
Oh.
It was a very small team that worked on it. Only about 20 people worked on it. So far, it hasn't been reviewing well, but I kind of want to get it. This is in between TNG and Picard. So it's somewhere 5 to 10 years after um, Nemesis.
When
But
does online happen though? Online isn't canon, unfortunately. I kind of wish it was.
it's it's not canon at all. It doesn't take place anytime because there's every Star Trek ship in it. My dad plays it. There is no
I
timeline.
know that there.
You have
I know it
you have
takes place
Discovery
after
ships.
Nemesis because there's an entire huge arc with the Tasha Yar's daughter.
Right, but what I'm saying is like all of the ships in Discovery are in it. All of the ships from the original series are in it. Like
Oh,
everything is
okay,
in it,
okay. Well, that I have no
and
problem
that's
with. It's just a story that I have. I wish was
oh
canon.
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about the
there's
story.
a surprising bit of story.
My dad. Oh no, wait, no. I'm not thinking of Star Trek Online. I'm thinking of Star Trek Fleet Command.
Oh, that yeah, okay. No, I'm talking about Star Trek Online. which is
I know
that free to play game.
that's right after, because in
That
that
has to be right after Nemesis.
Nog is in it. It's got
Yes.
to be after DS9
No,
because Nog is happening.
Nemesis takes place in the timeline several years after Deep Space Nine ended.
Okay, right.
Nemesis currently, because I don't count New Trek or anything with the J.J. Abrams or the New Trek as canon. I think that is a different universe. I don't care what anyone says. Nemesis was the furthest we ever got in the Star Trek universe, which is interesting because the Shatnerverse has an entire arc that starts right after Nemesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's wrote a lot of books.
He does. He writes a lot.
I kind of want to read them.
He's a philanthropist. I'll tell you that. Here's the thing.
And I've heard that they're good too.
I bet you they're all right.
Not like fantastic.
I've heard that a lot of people
heard
kind of
that's
say
good.
it feels like an ego trip a little bit, which it's Bill Shatner. I bet you it could kind of feel that way.
It's Kirk.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I have not read them, but since seeing 765, 874, I want to see it. I want to read them.
Yeah, if that's an inkling of what those books are, all right, I'll take a look. I'll take a gander.
Well, I'm a little upset because I was going to get the audiobooks to all of them, but unfortunately on Audible, the only audiobooks that are available for them are the abridged version of the books, and I'm like, no, I don't want
the full thing.
I want the full thing, right?
Yeah. No, I want the full game.
Yeah, I want the full.
I want the full.
I want
the full book.
I want the full book.
I want the full experience. Give me the
now,
Roddenberry
also
Archive
to be clear,
experience.
the Shatnerverse is not canon.
Correct.
However, I think it would have been a better canon than what we had, but
Then all of this new stuff.
because
that we're getting,
well, it's
Picard,
interesting because I think in the
Picard.
Shatnerverse, the Dominion War definitely still happened, basically the way it did. Nemesis still happens basically the way it did. So we know that it does follow continuity a great deal. It's just not canon in actual Star Trek. It's almost like it's glorified fan fiction. If you really look at it,
that's essentially what I took it as.
It's kind of like
it's the actor writing.
Yeah. It's just officially sanctioned fan fiction, and you know what it reminds me of now. I hate to do the comparison to Star Wars, but since Disney bought Star Wars, the Legends universe is completely out, and so now all of those books just feel like glorified fan fiction. This whole continuity that was created before Disney bought it, but
I can't keep up with Star Wars. There's too much.
Well, before Disney bought it, to summarize it, there was the Legends universe, which was the original expanded universe. There was the Thrawn trilogy, and there was a bunch of books around it. That was the extended universe. Like, there was even one on the building of the Death Star that was really, really good.
Oh.
But then Disney bought it and said, we don't want any of that stuff, which a part of me says that makes sense because that's really going to limit you creatively. Like, you're just going to make the books into movies. I can understand why creatively that might make you frustrated. However, the expanded universe was amazing. It was really, especially the original sequel trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy. Mwah. It was so good. Thrawn is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but that's what I mean by the Shatnerverse too. Is like the Shatnerverse just feels like fan fiction, and I don't think
it's the same thing as the Roddenberry Archive. It's not officially Paramount does not endorse it.
But is it the Roddenberry estate that does that, or is it?
Correct.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
The Roddenberry estate, funds the Roddenberry Archive.
His son,
and
Roddenberry's son, is a hack. I hate to say that to anybody that's a fan.
The guy who built the sets of TOS, TNG, and I think Voyager. It's like some old Asian guy. He is like the person that's running the Roddenberry Archives. I think so.
Yeah, he was a production designer. For
and
all of TNG,
he's the one that's
most of the TOS movies, all of the movies basically. He was the big production designer. It was him and a guy I believe named Herman Zimmerman.
Oh, Zimmerman.
Yeah, Zimmerman. I
don't think Zimmerman's in the archive.
That's unfortunate because Zimmerman's big claim to fame is Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
My favorite.
But Zimmerman did amazing. Like, when he came on, it really solidified the Trek look. was when he came on. Okuda was working on, I think he worked on the motion picture. He was working on Phase 2. That got changed into the motion picture, and then that went there. Interestingly, he, I think, does a lot of the... No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. I'm not going to say that because I can't confirm. Never mind. Don't listen to me.
All I know is I like Star Trek.
Star Trek. I love Star Trek.
They're bringing it back. They're doing better. We're talking about, some of our favorite relationships. We talked about friendships. I want to talk about romantic relationship. What's your
No.
yes,
Oh.
yes. What's your favorite romantic relationship in Star Trek? There's only like a couple.
It's Troy and Worf.
I'll go first. Troy and
Worf.
Oh,
I'm joking.
I forgot about that. I was gonna say Jadzia and Worf. I love
them. I do.
I like Odo and Kira.
Yes, yes, I do.
I like we talked about Janeway and her holographic boyfriend. I like
yeah,
that.
but that's not real. I don't count that one.
I do. It's as real as she makes it to be.
No, because it's a fucking holodeck.
Okay, that's about it.
Well, no. You know what? I think the best romance.
Oh no, there's B'Elanna and Tom Paris, and then there's T'Pol and.
I love T'Pol and Trip.
Trip, yeah.
I love that. I love the chemistry that those two actors have.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, you want to know what I genuinely think was going to be the best romantic relationship in Star Trek?
Lay it on me.
It was going to be Picard and Crusher. It's so clearly that's what they wanted to do with it.
It's wasted potential.
Yeah, it's so clear that that's what they wanted to do, and the writers just never did anything with it. They wanted to.
Why did they do it with Riker and Troy, but not be able to do it with those
I
two?
don't know the reasons. I really don't. I have a feeling Rick Berman was a part of it because it's so clear that the writers wanted to do something.
Well, there was episodes where they teased it.
Oh, big time. And I understand, and it's also rife with good drama too, like the fact that Picard
he's the reason her husband died.
Yeah, and there's reason. I always thought Wesley kind of got on board with Picard a little too quickly. I think at that age I'd be pretty angry at Picard.
I just watched an episode of TNG not too long ago where there was another parent that died under Picard's command, and they were trying to cope with this kid and explain to him that your parents died on an away mission. Picard was the reason that it happened. He was the commander, and they said, Wesley, why don't you go talk to him? And this is a late season, like season 5, season 6, late in the show, and I feel like they should have done this sooner. Wesley straight up says, no, I still hold, I've forgiven him, but I still hold this anger for Picard, and I can't go to this kid and say everything's going to be okay because it's not. I'm still traumatized by the fact that my captain
I know what episode
killed my dad.
Was this before or after Wesley accidentally killed those cadets? And Picard.
I think it's before.
Picard gave him the very stern dressing down.
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be Tom Paris, by the way.
They did yeah. It's the same actor.
It's the same actor, clearly the same character, just different name.
Yeah. I don't understand why. Because
royalties.
Tom Paris was court-martialed for doing a flying.
Yes, I can tell you the exact reason why, Jim, and it's called royalties. They would have had to pay the writer of that episode of TNG a decent sum of money, and they didn't want to do that. It's also why in Star Trek Generations, where Kirk says there's this woman that he always wanted to marry upstairs, and he says his random name. It was supposed to be Dr. Marcus from Star Trek 2.
They didn't want to give them credit.
They couldn't. No, it wasn't the credit. It was the royalties. It was the fact that they would have had to pay Nicholas Meyer and Harv Bennett money to use that name.
I wish. That's one thing that I didn't like in Picard season 3. We know that the last time that we saw Wesley Crusher was he became a time traveler. And, in Picard season 2, Wesley Crusher comes back.
Wow.
It's a cameo.
That
It's a cameo
that's.
as a traveler. He
Oh,
comes
he is
back
as a traveler in that. Okay.
as a traveler. Yeah, and it makes sense.
Now
And
that's better than
Will
what they were going to
Wheaton,
do in. Have you seen the deleted scenes from Star Trek Nemesis? They
no,
really broke continuity with that because
no, what
Wesley
happened?
Crusher was in those scenes. Was in the wedding scene at the beginning. Wesley Crusher was going to
Yes,
be
I
in
have
that,
seen it.
and
I've
it
seen
and
a
it
screenshot.
broke continuity so bad that they cut it.
Like, why is he here? He's a time
He
traveler.
shouldn't
He's
be
not a
there.
time traveler. He's a
Yeah.
traveler. So Will Wheaton did an interview last year and basically said, somebody asked him at like a Comic-Con or something and said, "Are you upset that like all of these TNG era characters are coming back and you're not?" And he goes, "Well, I can't say too much, but let's just say I'd rather be in 5 shows for 1 episode than be in 1 show for 5 episodes."
I have a love hate relationship
And I,
with.
and I was like, all right, that's
I have
cool.
a
They're respecting that he's a traveler, so theoretically, canonically, he could be in all these different
I just
series,
don't
and
care.
it makes sense.
I just don't care.
I know you don't, but I'm glad that
I'm
they're putting
sorry. I
that
hate
effort
New
into it.
Trek, and I'm never gonna support it.
Oh, you need to watch Strange New Worlds,
Mm,
and you need to watch Picard
fuck
season
no, I
3.
am not watching Strange New Worlds.
Oh, just watch it. It's not that bad.
Um,
It's not that bad, really. I promise.
okay.
June 15th, season 2 comes out. I gotta watch something until then, though. So that's why I've been watching Enterprise on my lunch break.
Well, what I wanted to do when we were talking about friendships, because you said that we talked about them, we really haven't. But I
We
wanted to talk about,
glazed over it.
I wanted to talk about, because remember, I'm trying to split this up into fucking videos, Jim. God damn it, you're ruining my vibe, sir. What do you think is the best friendship, Jim, in all of Star Trek? What do you think is the best friendship? And you know what? We can throw a romantic friendship in there because I think genuinely like Jadzia and Worf are friends, and yet they're lovers too. Um, I know mine.
See, I know what you're gonna say.
I know mine, hands down. To me, there's no competition, but I'm curious what yours is.
I think it's a toss-up
Okay.
between 3. Now, see, but the thing is, you're a much bigger fan of TOS. You've watched these movies probably, let's fairly say, 10 times each, at least.
I'd say more. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say 100, maybe 100 in
maybe
total.
100 in total. Yeah, for
Okay,
each movie.
still a lot more than me. In my case, I've watched TNG and DS9 the most. So I'm gonna say my top 3 in no particular order. I really like Trip and Reed in Enterprise.
They've
I
grown
think
on
that
me a lot. Let's talk about them.
they're fantastic. There's an episode, I think it's called Ship in a Bottle, where it's just the two of them in a shuttle pod,
Oh my
and
god, they're
the
slowly
light
freezing to death, right?
slowly freezing to death, and they're having these like super emotional
Mm-hmm.
conversations.
Because that
And
was when
from
they
that
were
episode
still
on,
antagonistic towards each other, I think.
correct, correct. It's only like the 5th episode in the first season.
And I think that was the episode where the ice, and I know they're freezing to death, so no pun intended, but that was where the ice started to break with them.
Yeah,
Because after that, I noticed that they were much more buddy buddy.
they're much better friends.
Yeah.
And they do a podcast now called the Shuttle Pod Show,
Oh, I didn't
and
know
they
this.
release that. Yes, it's the two of them. I can't remember the actors' names. I haven't watched like every episode, but what they do is they have the two of them, and they have a guest star come on. And so I watched quite a few of them. Tim Russ
Mm-hmm.
was a guest star. The guy who played
I think the guy
the
Riker. I think
Romulan.
Riker was just on that.
he was just on it last
Yeah,
week.
let
The
me
guy
bring
who
it up because
played
actually I think I do know these guys.
Spoonhead. Oh my God, why am I? Garrick. Wow, I am blanking on names tonight. Garrick, the guy who played Garrick, was on an episode a couple weeks ago. But anyway, I just after watching this podcast and seeing them, how they are still now 20 years later,
Oh my
and
god, I didn't recognize them.
yeah, they look
Oh my
totally
god, I'm pulling this up. They
Reed, the guy who played Reed, his hair is like
well,
super
look at
long
that. That doesn't
now.
look like Trip. Like
No,
Trip is like
no, it
super
does not.
like clean shaven and shit. I listened to this episode. I didn't
This
realize
guy's
that
over
was
here
them.
looking like yeah, that's who they are. That's
Wow.
who they are.
Well, they just officially got a subscriber.
Yeah. They do an
Wow.
episode every Sunday. And as a matter of fact, I think what they did today for their episode, they're reviewing The Cage. I think.
That's beautiful. It'll be out by the time that of this video comes out. This is recorded much earlier than when it comes out. But wow, that's really cool because I listened to the Riker episode and I listened to the Worf episode
I listened to the Worf
with
episode too.
Michael Dorn. What an interesting dude Michael Dorn is.
And I like how they don't just talk about Star Trek. They talk
Their
about
careers, how'd you get started. I
in
love the
acting.
bit where they're talking about Riker about directing. Because
I
I think
watch Riker.
I think Jonathan Frakes is an immensely better director than he is an actor. As much as I love him
I think he's a great actor.
I think
yes,
he's a pretty good actor. I think he can get over the top really quickly. I actually think he kind of suffers from the Bill Shatner effect a bit, where Bill Shatner, if you don't rein him in, can go crazy.
Loose cannon.
Yeah,
loose cannon.
Yeah. And I think Jonathan Frakes is the same way. But I think Jonathan Frakes, out of all of the cast and crew to become directors or also direct outside of acting, which a lot of them do, like
he's done it the most successful
every single time. It's whenever I see that he's directing something on Star Trek or anything, I'm like, I'm gonna watch that.
I know it's gonna be a competent
I know it's
episode,
gonna be I know it's gonna be pretty competent. The other one was LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton does a pretty good job at directing too.
Yes, he does. Yeah. I'm gonna stay on track.
Oh,
though.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna keep you on track this time.
I'm sorry.
All right, so 2 and 3, like I said, no particular order. Odo and Kira.
Mm-hmm.
Odo and Quark.
Ooh.
And that's not a friendship. That is a mutual respect relationship.
I'd say it was a friendship. I would go as far as to say that
it grew into a friendship, but I have to. Those are my top 3 in no particular order. I know who yours are, and I will say, if I had a top 4 tie, they would be.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about yours. Let's talk about yours right now, and then we'll get into mine. Because I'll actually do 3 as well. You pick 3, I'll pick 3 as well.
Oh, okay.
We'll do that. So Quark and Odo, huh?
Quark,
they're fun
I just
together.
think that their dynamic is so good, and they have a mutual respect for each other. Odo being the sheriff, Quark being the smuggler in every single episode, and he never arrests him, even though he totally has every right to. And he never does.
Oh, big time. And I kind of love this sort of cat and mouse relationship that they have, and stuff like that. And I really like that.
Odo always says, "Oh well, the reason I don't arrest you is because you're just a small fish in the big pond, and I'm using you to get the sharks or whatever."
And I genuinely
I get it.
But I genuinely think that he's just using that as an excuse. I think Odo,
because he likes him,
likes going after Quark. I think he likes when Quark gets into mischief, and I think he enjoys the chaos of it. Right. And he likes to hide it because of his nature. And I really like the moral ambiguity of Odo's past. I don't know if
he knows Odo Quark and Odo know each other before
before
the
yeah,
Federation
before the Federation
takes over
gets involved.
Tarek
It's
9
really
or
hinted
Tarek
at.
9.
It's really hinted at that Odo might be a war criminal if you really look at it.
It's not a might. There's a whole episode dedicated to him being a war criminal.
Oh yeah,
He
you're
let
totally
innocent
right. I
people
totally
die.
forgot about this episode. It's
Yeah,
such a good episode too.
he ordered innocent people to death, knowing they were innocent, which is a phenomenal episode.
Yeah, and,
But
and
yeah,
and he did it for what he thought was preserving law and order. I mean, Odo, if you really look at it, the beginning of Deep Space Nine, all the way through, I'd say about season 3.
he wants to
Well, he's
use
a fascist.
Cardassian
He's a,
laws.
and I use it in the literal term. He's a fascist. He wants to restore order to chaos the entire way through. He is very much so a lawful neutral. I wouldn't say lawful evil, because if he was lawful evil, he would be.
He would kill.
Yeah, he would.
But that's one
yeah,
thing he doesn't do. He doesn't
that.
kill.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Garrick, on the other hand, is a lawful. I'm sorry, is a chaotic neutral.
Chaotic. Yeah.
He's pretty. He's because. We're not talking about Garrick. I love Garrick, but Garrick.
I will give a plug to Julian and Garrick too.
Yeah, I was gonna mention them. But
Okay. Okay, so then we'll leave that for
yeah,
you then.
Yeah, I really enjoy their friendship, but
But Odo and Quark, they have such a mutual respect
well, what's
for
that
each
episode?
other.
What's that episode on Deep Space
It's the one
Nine
they get
where they
stranded,
get stranded on that planet? It's wonderful.
and Quark has to carry Odo up
It's
the mountain because
wonderful.
he broke his leg.
Even though I can't help but wonder why Odo doesn't just revert back to a gelatinous form, and I think he would be much easier to.
Because at that point he was a humanoid.
Was that when that arc was happening? Okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching. I'm sorry. You know what made me think of that? I was watching a season 1 episode yesterday, where Odo is protecting this fugitive that came through the wormhole, and he's going to be put on trial and everything like that, in very Odo fashion. But then he ends up saving Odo. You know, like he's clearly a good. Like this fugitive is clearly a man that did something bad, but his heart was in the right place, and that he is a moral person. Like he could have just left Odo to die in this cave as it was starting to collapse, but he didn't.
Right.
He saved him, and I kept wondering in that episode, and I was laughing because I was like, it just hit me. Why doesn't Odo just revert back to his goopy form when he passes out? Why would that even hurt him?
Wait, and he has to concentrate in order to maintain his shape, he has to concentrate.
Yeah.
If he's sleeping or knocked out, automatically he reverts back to his
and I'm like,
natural
it's
state.
clearly just a logic flaw in the writing. That's all it was. But I'm like, that's funny.
I didn't put that.
Yeah, I was like, it hit me last night. It took me rewatching it for me to go, oh.
Oh, that doesn't make much sense.
It was a decent episode. It's certainly better than Move Along Home.
He ends up letting the guy go, right? He gives him like a shuttle pod or something.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. I remember.
Which I'll always say this: the roundabout is way better than the shuttle pod. I will always say that.
Oh yeah, but nothing beats the Delta Flyer.
Mm.
Oh, come on. Come on, that thing can do like warp 6.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go old school, and I'm gonna go with the Galileo ships from TOS. Classic.
It's like a 67 Corvette now.
Right. It's not as efficient, but is it gorgeous? Yeah. That was the fucking nerdiest conversation I have ever had right there. Hands down, bar none. Everything I've ever said in my life before this conversation, that was the nerdiest thing I have ever said, ever.
And this is again going back to only the true Trekkies will know the ships that we're talking about. They'll be like, what the fuck is the Delta Flyer? What the fuck is a Galileo? Wasn't he a scientist? What's going on?
I can just picture some of my friends being like, what the fuck? Nerd. Yes.
All right.
Anyways, back to friendships. But yeah, I really like Odo. Oh, and their final scene together is perfect. That man loves me.
That loves me. Oh, I watched the episode. Uh, we're still staying with friendships. Trip and Reed, their podcast Shuttle Pod, they did an episode with Quark. He was one of their first guests. Really good. Recommend you watch it. He talks about
Armin Shimmerman.
the
That's the
Armin
actor.
Shimmerman.
Yeah.
He talks about the prosthetic or whatever it's called. A really good episode about how he has to overact to get his emotions to come through, because he's basically got a face full of
Well,
rubber
that's
on.
not surprising because I don't know. You don't like the Planet. You haven't seen any of the Planet of the Apes movies, the original
Yes,
ones.
I have.
Oh, you have. Oh, this is news
I
to me.
have. Yes.
No,
they're the masks and stuff are
phenomenal
and how they're able to
articulate,
have the emotion.
And all the actors said that in order to get them to articulate the way they did was they'd have to overreact on their faces all the time because then it would look normal.
Yeah.
Coming out on screen. The fact that Roddy McDowall could get such subtle facial movements out of the rubber.
You know what Armin Shimmerman was saying in that scene? They were specifically looking for TV actors because the whole point of TV is you don't have to be as exaggerated. You can be more subtle. But for the role of Quark, besides the fact that he was already a
Ferengi, so he had some experience with the makeup
background, but he was actually a major in like theatrical performing and specifically Shakespeare, which is all about over exaggerating. And the reason they went with him is because they knew he was going to be in all this prosthetic and needed to be able to overact
to
to make it
compensate
come off.
all that makeup on him.
Yeah.
That's a common thing that I've heard, though, is that underneath all those layers of rubber, you got to kind of overact a bit. And the Ferengi have a lot of makeup on them. They have a lot of makeup on them.
A lot.
Yeah.
He was saying that he could not hear anything. If he couldn't see the actor he was talking to in a scene, he couldn't
because
react.
He usually gets taped on so tight and everything.
And the ears are literally covered with no holes.
Yeah, and they have to be tight. They have to be tight and everything. It's not like Spock ears either, But
Quark and Odo, love them. Love them.
What's your favorite episode with them in it? I know we mentioned the shuttle pod one, or not the shuttle pod one, the one that gets stranded on the planet.
That gets stranded. Favorite episode with Quark and Odo. Isn't there's an episode where Quark gets a buyer who's and the buyer was played by Jeffrey Combs.
Yes.
And he's like, I want a hologram room with Kira. I want that. And like Kira finds out what he's doing, and by the end of the episode, Kira and Odo team up to make the hologram have Quark be in it instead of Kira. Yeah. That's probably up there in like he pulled a prank
essentially,
on Quark. At the end of the day, he could have arrested him for, harassment and, indecent exposure or whatever for, doing these things to Kira, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Instead, he pranked him. That, to me, shows their relationship.
Well, I think that goes to a lot of what Quark is in general as well. I think Quark himself, and I think this is why Odo kind of tolerates him a lot more, too. Quark is a good guy. In fact, Quark says as such. Quark says at the end of the day, I'm a people person. He hates the fact that he's a people person, but he is a people person. He likes chatting.
That's why he went into a bar.
He likes chatting with his customers. He likes doing all this. Sure, it's under the guise of getting a profit, but I think without those interactions, I think Quark would be a much more miserable Ferengi than not.
Bar is not profitable.
No,
but he does it because it's what he loves.
What he loves. Yeah, and I
find
that
says
alone
that all the time.
Yeah, I find that alone a fascinating character trait.
Yes,
and certainly I get why Armin Shimmerman was like, I played Quark to apologize for the Ferengi.
he really did make up
Oh, he
for it,
did.
and I forgive it. I do.
Because there are so many episodes of Deep Space Nine where I rolled my eyes and went, "Oh God, another Ferengi-centric episode," and then it turns out to be a great episode. The one that I remember the most from Deep Space Nine, where I almost skipped it because I was so sick and tired of Ferengi episodes, was when they go onto that other Deep Space Nine-esque
Yeah, I
spaceship.
was literally just gonna say that for when they have to save their mom.
Yeah,
Moogie.
and
And it's like the Liquidator, Brunt,
all
Quark,
of them.
and like it's this ragtag team of like people that have never shot a phaser in their life. And
And they've got
they're
to
but they're sticking
outsmart these Jem'Hadar. They've got to. They
Jem'Hadars
accidentally kill
and
one of the Vorta,
the vortex.
and I'm
Yeah,
like, this
and
is so funny.
and but at the end of the day, like you said, well, not only is Quark a good person because he put this all together to save Moogie, but
Mookie.
but he did it for money too
Oh
because he's
yeah,
like, all right, we're gonna make a quick buck and save my mom. Like
that's
he
funny.
is a good
Yeah.
person, and I almost did the same thing. I was like, this is stupid. This is too much of a joke. But when you think about it, like I think Deep Space Nine in general did the best of we had these super super tense arcs going
Mm-hmm.
on. Let's throw and sometimes literally a curveball, a humor, a comic relief episode in. The episode with the Vulcan that plays baseball with Cisco, and they make the
Oh, I
the
thought that episode. That's
the
another episode
Niners.
that I thought was gonna be such dog crap, and then I'm like,
I did too. I'm
wow,
like,
was
why are
this
they
episode
playing
a?
baseball?
This episode was a can of fresh air in a season where it's been nothing but hard.
That's got to be my favorite Worf quote ever.
Mm.
Hey, better, 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 better. Hey, better, better, better. Swing. Death to the
I knew you were
opposition.
going to say that one. I was like, it's either going to be that or find him and kill him.
Find him and kill him.
That's another.
But
That's
like,
another episode where I'm like, if you try to describe that to people, it's like the cringiest thing. You know, it's like if you watch that as like an outsider,
dude, what the
people are
fuck
like,
is
this
going?
is this
Excuse my
is
language, but
awful.
what
Like,
is going on?
what is this? This is terrible. But as a fan, you're like, this is hysterical.
This is amazing. And then the very like, I think it was either the episode before or the episode after is, it's a
It's a
fake.
fake.
Like that's such a tense episode.
No,
But you have this.
no. I think the baseball episode's the final season. I think.
Well, isn't it's a fake final season too?
No,
Because Dominion War ends.
no.
Oh, okay, well.
I'll cut this out.
No, it's okay. I'm dropping the ball a lot tonight on my names. Oh, I feel awful.
But Odo is
Oh no, Quark.
Odo and Quark are just they're a fun pair together. They are a fun pair together. Like I love it. I love it. I just love how they anticipate each other too when they go on whenever Odo pops in the promenade. Oh my god! Before
Quark's right
I
there.
forget it, one of my favorite lines in cinema history is Klingons on the promenade when the Klingons were attacking. Um, there's one line where Odo just goes Klingons on the promenade, and I'm just like that line made me laugh so hard because it's such a serious, intense moment, and I'm just like it's not supposed to be funny, but I'm just like that's such a nerd line.
What, a person who doesn't watch that, what's a
What's the
promenade?
promenade? Yeah.
What's a
I
Klingon?
remember listening to Rich Evans and Mike Stoklasa from Red Letter Media talk about Deep Space Nine, where the first episode you have the Enterprise there, of course you have Picard there, and all of a sudden the Enterprise leaves, and how they're left on this dingy, dirty space station in the ass heap of space. And Mike was like, "No, come back, come back."
It's so pretty.
Oh shit.
All right, next, Odo and Kira.
You see, I can talk. I can talk a little bit more about this one with specifics. I think than Odo and.
I think I don't know if they knew it from the beginning or when it really happened, but the reason that these two are in my top three are because they started out as a really good friendship, which turned into a really good relationship over 7 seasons. It wasn't, oh, I love you. It was such a slow buildup, and the audience knew, and Quark knew that Odo loved Kira for literally like a full season before he finally
Well,
admitted
that
it to
goes
her.
into the whole thing. Odo's a people person. Odo. Quark is
Quark.
Odo certainly is
Yeah,
not a people person,
he
but
is not.
he
No,
tries. But
he does,
um,
and he likes the solids. He likes them.
well, I gotta. The thing with him, he always had. I think he almost from the get go, he always had a crush on Kira. He always had a soft spot for Kira. Um,
I think it was a crush
yeah,
at
it was a
first.
crush. It wasn't. It
It was
wasn't.
not. He did
Yeah,
not love her.
no.
He had a crush on her.
I think it was. If I remember correctly, and it is a very good episode where Kira gets trapped in these crystals.
Odo gets trapped in
Odo gets
the
trapped in the
crystal.
crystals,
Yeah.
and it turns out not to be. No, Odo doesn't get trapped in the crystals. It is totally Kira.
No, Odo gets trapped in the. You're right. It is Kira, but it's not Kira.
It's
It's a
it's a
changeling.
changeling. Yeah, that's it. But I think that
You're
was
right.
the episode where Odo realizes,
Confesses. Yes.
yeah, just how much she means to him. And it's a very good
And
episode. It's a great example of a bottle episode too. It's one location, no real guest stars.
yep.
It's very
I was
good.
just gonna say that's probably my favorite episode with the two of them, even though
Yeah.
it's not the two
Mm-hmm.
of them. It's
I,
him.
I really do like the episode where Vic Fontaine sets up the date,
Yes.
and they
I was
both
gonna say Vic Fontaine's in a
they
lot.
both think that it's a hologram of the other person
Right.
until
That they're
it's
not actually talking to
Yeah,
each other.
but it turns
Yeah.
out that it's really them. And then I
Yeah.
love the argument they get into on the promenade, where he's like, "Well, why don't you just kiss me right now?" Well, maybe I should. Well, maybe you should.
Okay, well, let's do it then. I, and that's why
It's good.
I think I like them, because both of them are very stern people that know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
It from day one. Kira was a strong, independent. She, if she didn't agree with Cisco, she made it
Well,
known. She was not Riker. She was not, Spock.
very
If she
purposefully
didn't
too.
agree,
Very
yeah,
purposefully, she was very confrontational, and because she wasn't Federation, she could get
correct.
away with a lot of that. And
Odo is the same
yeah,
way.
Odo was the same way. There's a great line actually in season 1 of Deep Space Nine where they were like, the Federation can't do that. You can't do that. And Odo keeps saying, I'm not in the Federation. And he does
Correct.
what he does anyways. But there's the thing with Kira was always attracted to powerful men. Because you look at that other relationship that she had with that other
With
um
the not Kai Wynn, but the other person for the spiritual
yes,
leader.
for their spiritual
Yeah.
leader, the Vedic, I think that was it.
Barile.
Yes, that was it. She really liked him.
I think she loved him.
She really was for and it was good. I like that little arc.
I did too.
I think also
and
that
he died in a good way. I think too.
Yeah, and
Like an honorable way.
yeah. But it shows what type of person she's attracted to. And she's sort of attracted to a version of herself, a stronger character. The thing with Odo is that Odo is very he has very strict morals that he follows. And that's
Yes.
what I like about him. And I also love the dynamic, and I think it adds to his character too. And I love how Kira knows this and doesn't judge him for it at all. He does have a yearning to go back to the collective. No, it's not the collective.
That episode with Garrick where he admits that
great episode.
I want to go home. Oh, I
Oh, it's such
cried.
a good episode. It's such a good episode. But um, the thing that I love about that, there's a fantastic episode where there's another changeling that is in the same position that he was when he was first
Yes.
conceived of, and that changeling doesn't quite grasp.
He doesn't like the
Yeah, he
solids.
doesn't like the solids, while
What's your fascination with solids?
Odo did, admittedly, because I think he didn't know anything else. And what I found fascinating about that is I love the scene where he goes to Kira. He's talking to Kira about it because he's like, "I'm not like you. I need to admit that I'm not like you. I'm not a solid." And he brings up genuine good points and genuine parts of him that I think are really yearning for this, regardless of if he really means it in the literal sense or not. He does yearn for it because I think it's a part of his nature. And I love the scene where Kira goes up to him afterwards and says, "Do you really feel that way around me, that I am forcing you to constantly to mimic us? Do you really think that I wouldn't like you if you didn't do that?" And I love it how he embraces her and he kind of turns into a gelatinous form in front
Right.
of her. And I'm like, this is that. It actually kind of harkens back to another episode I really like, and it's the only episode with Deanna Troy's mother that I like,
Loxana, when
Loxana.
he goes into her
Um,
dress,
that is such
whatever.
a good
Yeah.
episode for her. That's like the
She
only.
she takes her wig
Yeah,
off, and
that is by
yeah.
far my favorite Loxana Troy episode, by far. And
I was gonna say, I think Kira is the first person that like he returned to his gelatinous form, not because he
not because
had
he had
to,
to.
but because he felt comfortable
Yeah,
doing
because
so.
that is Odo at his in his most vulnerable form, and he's
Exactly.
showing it to her, and I
Yes.
really love that, and I love the ending too, where he goes back to the. It's not the collective. What is it called?
The Great
Yes,
Link.
that's it. The Great Link, and I love how when he goes back to there, Kira kind of knows that she's probably not going to see him again for a very, very, very long time because
But if I remember correctly, she says like, I'll be
yep,
there for you. You know where
you
to
know where to
find me."
find me. Yeah,
Something
and
along, and I'm getting
it's
chills just
a
thinking of that because it's such a, you know that he will
yeah,
eventually.
it's a bittersweet ending because it's sad because the relationship in essence is ending in that particular scene, as it was is ending. But it's sweet because Odo is finally
At home.
home and everything like that. So I've always been a sucker for bittersweet. Um, and stuff like that. How you got to give up one thing to have the other. Which one is more important to you, and everything like that. And I really did like that. I really did like their
Well,
ending.
it goes back to like you said, Odo knows his morals.
Mm-hmm.
He loves his people. He cares for his people. He has an earning to be with his people, but his moral compass says, my people are in the wrong.
And
I
and
need
I
to
love how
stop them.
he's able to tell all that to Kira,
Yes.
and she gets it.
Yep.
That's what I love
I
about it. She doesn't really question him. She's just like, "Tell me."
She understands.
Yeah, yeah.
She's been through it too with like all of her she used to be in the Bajoran
Mm-hmm,
militia.
mm-hmm.
She's killed people. She's hurt
She's done some
innocent
terrible
people.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they are very, very similar and just their relationship makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They understand who they are on the inside, and like you said, it doesn't matter what they look like. They love the inside, not the outside.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's a really cute relationship. It really is. It's a good friendship that evolves into a cute relationship, and one that I think, unlike other relationships in Star Trek, one that I think was genuinely earned. It was a relationship.
I think it was not
No,
forced
and
at
that's what I
all.
mean. Like it was earned. Like it was
Correct.
built up. It was
I
hinted
used to
at.
say Jadzia and Worf were the same way, but when I rewatched DS9 the last time, I don't want to say it was forced. It wasn't, but it was a little rushed. It was not forced. It seemed natural, but it was definitely
Well, I
rushed.
have a counter to that. because I think it fits that Kira and Odo's relationship was very slow and kind of angsty and very cautious because they're such good friends. And they
True.
don't want to
True.
fuck that up, and I
Worf
think
and Jadzia
they're
never
also
met each
not
other before.
used to that. They're not used to showing such affection with people, so they're kind of awkward together. With Jadzia and Worf, I think it fits that they suddenly jump into a physical relationship because they're both very
That's
headstrong.
Worf.
Worf is
Yeah.
unbelievably headstrong, unbelievably acts on a whim, and Jadzia, her past lives,
Were like that.
particularly the old man,
Spontaneous.
the previous one that Cisco knew, was extremely, let's try this, let's try this, let's brace onto it. And remember, I think it was that symbiote too that really liked the Klingons.
Klingons. Yes, he was
Yeah.
the Klingon ambassador.
Yeah, so
for the
so
Federation.
to me, the fact that relationship gets jumped into so quickly fits. For me.
I hate to do this. I have to go to the bathroom real quick.
Well, we will be right back, gentlemen. And we're back. Okay. So, yeah, I just think Jadzia and Worf work better as a rushed kind of thing because I think that fits
It fits their
personalities. Yeah, they're almost the antithesis to Odo and Kira in several ways.
I mean, how many times did Worf say, "You have to marry me"?
Well,
we have a connection. We've made love. You have to marry me. That's Klingon law.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I'm not a Klingon.
Yeah. I love all that. I really did. Now
Curzon.
the thing that I find fascinating too, and I mentioned the antithesis to Odo and Kira. Kira and Odo's relationship is unbelievably tender and gentle and kind.
So sweet.
They are so sweet to each other, and it's perfect for them because they're so rough and gruff when they're in business mode.
They've both done bad things, and I have to say,
well, it doesn't
necessarily
necessarily have to do with them being in the bad, doing bad things. I mean, it's just their personalities in general. When they're working on something and have a goal to achieve, they're
headstrong.
We're going to do it this way, and very sure of themselves. Jadzia and Worf are unbelievably physical, unbelievably rough and gruff with each other.
I love whenever they just show up at Julian's and he's just like, I don't want to know. I will heal you. Like, that's it. Do not tell me.
That is so funny.
Yep.
But very fitting.
Like,
I think
you could tell me, but don't.
Please don't. Yeah. I love it.
Now, and another reason that I really like Odo and Kira's relationship is because, we talked about that episode where he admits that he basically committed a war crime. He killed innocent people, and Kira never knew about that. And she was more mad that he didn't tell her than the fact that he did it.
Yes, and I think that speaks a volume to just what type of people they are.
I agree.
And you get why Odo is so hesitant to tell her, because the Resistance has been Kira's entire life until literally the beginning of Deep Space Nine.
Until 4 years prior.
Yeah. And I mean it's so clear that Deep Space Nine and the Bajorans in general are kind of a stand-in for the Jews after World War II.
Oh,
it's so clear that that's what they are, and how it's sort of like the formation of Israel and everything like that. It is so clear that at least subconsciously inspired them to be, here's the groundwork. I'm just thinking of my favorite episode of season 1, where that a Cardassian comes in and says that he ran one of the death camps.
Oh my goodness, I cried.
Oh my god. That was the episode, by the way. That was the episode that convinced me that this was going to be a good show. Was that episode.
he thought that he deserved to die,
Because he was a
and
coward.
he was a
He
scribe
was a dude. He was just a normal dude. And I love that scene.
following orders.
And I love that scene where he's like, I cried under the table. I could hear them screaming outside, and I hid under the table.
Yeah, no, that was such a
Well,
powerful
yeah,
episode.
and it's so sad because it's like that's what we would do. And
I wouldn't be able
yeah,
to stand up to my
and
superiors.
it's so sad, and it also I think gives credence to later. I love how Kira ends up looking at a
With that
Cardassian
as her
as
father
like a
figure.
father figure, and then you find out
Yeah,
some of the stuff that he did and how he's been really trying to rectify those mistakes
yeah.
since then.
And the doctor who did that thing too. There was a Cardassian doctor that was trying to find a cure for one of the diseases that a lot of Bajorans got at the
Mm-hmm.
mines. And, Kira didn't want to let him on the space station, blah, 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 blah. Did not want Julian to give him medical attention because he had that disease. And the only reason that he was there, and the only reason he could have that disease is because he was at the
Mm-hmm.
mines and he was enforcing all this bad stuff. And he says, and I think that's actually more an analogy to like the atom bomb. I'm not a history buff like you,
I,
but like
I I'm
he
not sure.
he created he created a long-lasting illness against the people, and it bit him in the butt. But then he spent his whole life trying to rectify it.
Yeah, and the levels of gray that are in episodes like that is why I love Deep Space Nine so
I think it's the best
fucking much.
written
And you know what
Trek.
I also love about it is even though it gets dark like that and it asks all those questions, never once do I sit back and say, is do I feel terrible after it? You know, like there's still this positive light at the end of the tunnel that all of these characters have that are like, you know what? We're still going to try our goddamn best.
Yeah,
And I love
no,
that. That's the spirit of Star Trek that I love so much. At least classic Trek.
yeah, can't say that for new Trek.
I can't
Sorry.
say that for new Trek. But I love that. I love that episode. With her surrogate father, who happens to be a Cardassian, which shocks everybody. I love that.
Hmm.
An episode I would
When he
love
also,
to revisit is the one where Kira travels back in time.
when she finds out that her mom
Yes.
was like Gul Dukat's
Yeah,
mistress.
she was kind of a whore, or a hooker, I
Well,
should say.
yeah,
She was a I'm trying to think of the confidant or
escort.
an escort. There we go.
Yeah.
And how much that hurts Kira, but yet at the same
But then she
time,
finds out at the end of the episode she only was doing it because that meant that her husband and Kira in return got double
and it
rations
also explains why Gul Dukat has such a fascination with her.
for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
It-
good episode.
It's a
It's a
very
good
good
episode,
episode. And
and it is creepy, but yet at the same time, I don't think it's overly creepy.
no, no, because her
it could have
mom would have
easily have
been
gotten
Ducat's age.
well, even Ducat's fascination with Kira, I think could have easily gone into cartoonish levels of creepy territory,
Yes.
and they don't. They took the more nuanced route, and I'm like, these writers on Deep Space Nine earned their paychecks doing this.
Mm.
They knew we weren't dumb. They knew the audience wasn't stupid, and they were willing to really be nuanced with it, and it's so good because of that. It is so good because of that. Um,
DS9 is my
yes,
favorite track.
it is. It is mine too.
It's my favorite.
Oh shit, it's so good. I remember when
Okay.
you were first watching Deep Space Nine, I got so fucking excited.
Oh, I know.
So
I
excited.
I I was asking you questions every day. I think I went through the whole series in like a matter of a month.
Right.
All 7 seasons.
Yeah.
I was watching like 3, 4
Yeah.
episodes a day.
Yeah.
And this is back when you had 20, 30 episodes a
Mhm.
season, not
Mhm.
not
Not
6.
six. Yeah. Anyways, you had one more.
I did have one more, and this is only because again, I'm watching the podcasts kind of loosely. I really have, and I'm going to say this is it's not as good as the first two, but a newfound appreciation for this relationship between Trip and Reed,
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Reed,
Mm-hmm.
and Tucker, Charles Tucker. And I think it's more so because not only did the two characters, and I'm only in season two again, so I'm only basing this off the first two seasons. They have such good episodes in those first two seasons, but the fact that in real life, 20 years later, they are still best
You see a
friends,
lot
and
of
they
that
never
in
met.
Star Trek.
They never met before um, the like casting
Yeah.
of the show. They never met before
Well,
that.
you see that a lot in Star Trek. I've noticed with TNG Forward, and
Oh
to me
yeah,
it makes sense because you don't work with somebody for 4 to 7 years and not kind of
and
form a bond with them.
and people don't realize, we have a background in film and video, and especially back then, it there wasn't 6 8 hour days. You're talking 12 14 16 hour
Well, that's
days,
typical.
5 days, 6 days a week.
That's to me that's a typical film schedule. Like
It is.
that is you work your ass off. It will probably kill you.
But what I'm
Um,
saying is it's not working with a coworker in an office for six
no.
years because you're with them for 8 hours a
Mm-hmm.
day, and that's the most interaction you're going to have with them. These people essentially worked with their coworkers twice as long and then went home and, on the weekends would host, run throughs by themselves, script readings by themselves, cold readings. So not only were they, working together for 60, 70, 80 hours a week, they're spending their free time together. And I think it really shows, not only, in the show, but the fact that they're still friends to this day. I have a lot of respect for specifically the two of them.
Which is yeah, and that is certainly the opposite of TOS. Most of
Yeah,
the cast and crew hated each other on TOS, which is so sad. It
well,
is sad, but at the same
I
time,
know Shatner was full of
yes,
himself.
Shatner was full of himself. I don't want to get into this very much, and I'm probably going to cut this out of the actual episode itself. But I think a lot of that was George Takei being jealous of Bill Shatner. I genuinely do because the way how he just keeps going after Shatner over and over and over again, despite Shatner saying sorry like
He's made his
a
amends.
bajillion times.
Yeah,
I genuinely think it's George Takei and his particularly that godforsaken husband of his. Um, I'm not a fan of George Takei, in case you can't tell. I like him as an actor. I think he's a good actor. I don't like him as a person. He I just think he's jealous, and I'm like, dude, you were a side character in a show where very clearly the main characters are Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. It is written and designed that those are your three main characters. It is not like TNG where you have an ensemble.
mm-mm.
TNG
and
is what
and
instead
they
is
didn't
what
even come in until the
yeah,
movies.
yeah. TNG
Same thing with
that's not
Uhura.
true. That's not true. They all had their moments in TOS. They were just few and far between. Um
That's what I'm saying. They weren't
the
more
the the only
prominent
other
in
character that really got a lot to do was
Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty was a favorite, quite frankly. So it kind of in the
Well,
shows,
wasn't
but
he was also only supposed to be in a couple episodes, but then like his agent or something was like, "No, you need a chief engineer."
I don't know.
And
I really don't know. I don't know the story about that.
I vaguely remember my dad saying
I
that
know
like
Garrick
when
was
it
that
came out.
way. Garrick was just supposed to be that
Really?
one-off character in that one episode, that first episode he was in. But the writers loved him so much they said we're
Oh,
bringing him
I
back.
love him.
Yeah,
I love
yeah, yeah. Oh my god! Oh, I can't believe it.
what?
I have to axe one of my characters now.
You have to ask one
I
of your
have to axe
characters
one of
why.
them. I have to axe one of them now because I now know who needs to be my number 3. Okay. Uh,
Wait, can it be an honorable mention?
maybe I don't know. I don't know. But anyways,
If it's
back to Trip and Tucker.
Trip and Tucker.
That again, I know we talked about that earlier, but I'm probably not going to use that in this episode. So let's talk about it. That episode where they are trapped in the shuttle pod together. I think
Amazing.
is the beginning of the ice being cracked for them because you watch that episode and they are bitching at each other most of
They
the
hate each
episode.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't like each other, and I can't remember if there's a reason why, other than they just don't like each
The
other.
the reason is they basically had the same dynamic for the start of the show. They had the same dynamic that Phlox and T'Pol had. Phlox is a very outgoing person who is, he doesn't know anybody on the ship. He's not, a human, obviously. And the only other alien species was T'Pol. So he would quite often talk to T'Pol, and T'Pol wanted nothing to do with him. Not necessarily because she didn't like him, but just because she was, a more self
Their
person.
personalities clashed.
And that was the same thing with Reed and Trip. Malcolm was a very, I don't want to say self-centered. He was a, solo kind of guy. Let me
He
work on
is,
my
yeah,
work.
he is full of himself.
And
Uh,
Tucker is, the Southern boy who wants to make friends with everybody. And
he's a sweetheart.
Malcolm found him to be annoying.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their budding was, dude, I just want to do my work. I'm here for a reason. I'm not here to make friends. Not that he was ever being rude or, a dick. I don't know if I can say that.
I think Tucker
a-hole.
I think Tucker is an ass throughout season 1. I don't like Tucker very much. And here's why. It's kind of why I have a hard time with Julian Bashir. I think he just acts too full of himself. It kind of drives me nuts in season 1.
I don't think it ever slows down though, really. And I think that is part of his character. Like he thinks he's the best engineer there is in the entire universe, even though his ship can only do warp 5 and he knows species that can do warp 7, but he's a better engineer.
Yes, and that's certainly his character. And it drives me nuts. But
you think it's just more prominent in the first season?
Yeah, big time.
I can see that. I can see that
big time, because I enjoy him now. Because and throughout season 2, I started really, really enjoying him.
He tones down. I think
there's a good episode actually with him and Archer, who, by the way, Archer grew on me a lot.
Yeah.
There's a good episode where they come across these mines, Romulans. They're Romulan mines. And one lands on the ship, and they have to try to cut it out, and it accidentally cuts a hole into
Malcolm's leg.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. And I said this is a good tense episode.
Yeah.
And I love how Archer stays with him anyways. Like,
well, he says, "Talk me through it."
Just talk me through it. And I love how Archer refuses to leave him. And to me, for some reason, I said that's a good captain.
He's not going to sacrifice his crew.
Yeah, that's a good captain right there. And actually, you know what? That was a very Kirk thing that he did. I think out of all of the captains, I think Kirk that are most like Kirk, I think Archer is the most like Kirk.
I think he's the most brash.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think Kirk is Sisko and Archer together. I think that's
I see that.
I think that's the best description of Kirk I can think of.
I think Archer he's brash, but he's inexperienced. Kirk is brash, but he's experienced.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
He's extremely experienced. So I think that would be a fair assessment.
And I like that dynamic about Archer. I love that dynamic about Archer, that he gets so lost in several moments because he's like, what? Huh? Like he's,
what do I do?
What do I do? Because they've never done it before. Well, by the time Kirk is out there, they have a blueprint of this is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. Like, I love that episode with Archer. It's more of a Trip episode, though. There's these species of aliens that they come in contact with that Archer quite enjoys. He gets to go, and they're taking these readings of this star that's kind of going supernova. And they're reading all the radiation of it, and he's teaching him how to drive the shuttle. And Archer is clearly having fun learning how to do all this, and that other alien that's helping him is having fun teaching him while taking those readings and everything like that. It's a good mutual thing. But meanwhile, on the ship, you discover that they essentially have slaves. There's this third gender that they have. That gender is just made to have their babies, and that's it. Like they don't learn how to read. They don't even
and
have a name.
It.
It's an it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it's a better episode than the episode of TNG. Where there's they have no gender. That's the key in TNG. The ones in TNG, the aliens in TNG have no gender, and one of them considers itself a female, and of course Riker wants to put his dick in it. And to me, this episode in Enterprise handled that delicate subject matter a bit better. And I think the main reason why is because of Trip's curiosity about the third gender and the fact that it's not a romantic relationship that forms between the two of them.
Right. I got a more sibling relationship.
Older brother, younger sister.
Teaching her how to read, how to help her with her math homework.
It is really sad at the end where, spoiler alert, she ends up killing herself because she has no choice but to go back there. And Trip showed her this world that she could never have.
She couldn't live. She would not be able to live in it, and decided to kill herself because she saw.
And how devastated Trip is when he learns about that, and how angry Archer is over that. Because
he blames Tucker.
Is it Trip or Tucker?
Well, his name is Charles Tucker.
Charles Tucker, but everybody calls him Trip.
Everybody calls him Trip.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Now that I look like
I've been mixing myself up the whole time too. So.
But I just love how angry Archer is over that, because Archer's like, you just really messed up an entire First Contact.
Yep.
We will be lucky if we ever get to talk to those people again because of what you have done. And it's like her death is on your shoulders, and I want that to sink in. And because Trip is pretty brash, he is pretty headstrong. He just jumps into things without thinking, kind of like how he did here. And what I love about it is that he doesn't. What Trip was doing wasn't mean.
It was kind.
It was, and everything like that. I was really worried that it was going to go down the route of he's going to be falling in love with this girl. I was really afraid. I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah.
Because he kept going on about how does their reproduction work.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, he's gonna
want to reproduce.
He's gonna end up accidentally putting a baby in her watch.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no.
But see, it's
ironically, it's a baby that gets put into him on a different episode.
It's the episodes like this that I think that made the relationship between Reed and Trip better.
Yeah.
Because every time there's an episode like that, Tucker, Trip, Charles, whatever you want to call him, gets knocked off his high horse just a little bit. And
it's never forced. It's not like sometimes with O'Brien on like Deep Space Nine, where sometimes
he goes
it
in
happens
with
a
good heart.
Yeah.
But then messes up.
Because with O'Brien, I feel like a lot of it is we just want to torture O'Brien for no reason at all. There's one episode in particular where it's like he's been brainwashed into thinking he's been in a prison colony for 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's only been like 20 minutes.
I liked the episode, but it didn't make sense.
Oh, me too.
It was O'Brien.
Me too.
It could have been anyone.
And I do like the episode because of how heavy it gets. Like, he was gonna fucking kill himself in that episode. He was gonna kill himself in that episode.
Well, he killed his cellmate.
Yeah. No. Like when he comes back to reality and he's like, I've been on that planet for 20 years.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's only been 20 seconds.
And they say, oh,
that's their punishment.
It's better.
And and he's so traumatized by what happened to him that he does. And it's so clear that it's a commentary on post-traumatic stress disorder. Real post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's a very good episode. But anyways, back to Trip.
Yeah, no, their relationship
Yeah.
just seemed, again, it was a slow build, but once it clicked, and they started spending more and more time together, and it's just becoming a better and better relationship as, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little more than halfway through season two, almost done
Mm-hmm.
with season two. I know that the relationship status is going to switch, and at some point Trip is going to start his relationship with T'Pol, which
The Paul.
I'm not
Yeah.
a huge fan
Because
of,
because
but
because the British guy
Malcolm,
Malcolm, yeah, he has a crush on T'Pol.
yeah.
At least in season 1 and 2, it's very clear that he
Oh
has
yeah.
a crush on
Every,
T'Pol.
and I like how they didn't shy away from that either. The fact that Archer
Well,
had a
it's
crush on, like, a and not like a lust or a romantic, like, just straight, I think she's hot. I haven't had sex since I got on this ship.
yes,
And I like
yeah.
that they didn't dance around that. And, he finally eventually talked to Phlox about it, and then confesses it to Paul and says, look, this is going to come across as inappropriate, but you need to know and we have to talk through this.
Well, that's why I also think Archer deserves more credit than he's given credit for.
Yeah.
I think because Kirk wouldn't have done that.
I don't think any of the other captains would have done
I
that.
don't think any of the other captains would have done that. I do kind of like how straightforward Archer is, because that is a leadership style.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to be straightforward with you, and I'm going to be completely honest with you here.
Yep.
And that tends to be what he does. But yeah, I think I enjoy Trip much more as a character than Malcolm.
I would agree.
Yeah, I just think Trip is a more fascinating character. And
Trip became, because, technically Sub Commander T'Pol is not part of the
he's not
Federation.
Federation.
Whenever the
Yeah.
captain leaves the ship, Trip is in command, so he has a lot more of the spotlight than Malcolm ever really does. You know, there are so many Worf centric episodes in TNG as him being, a main character and chief of security. But let's face it, we learn more in TNG about Riker than we did about Worf, and
Mm-hmm.
because he's second in command. Um,
To me, we don't start getting into the nitty gritty about Worf as a true
until
character until
DS9.
Deep Space Nine.
I agree.
DS9.
And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with, and that's why I used him as an example in TNG. It's the same, reason that we don't know as much about Malcolm. There are some
Okay.
Malcolm-centric episodes, but at the end of the day, he's more a side character than a main character, even though he is a
Well,
main character.
and much there is a lot to be said about this. There's a lot we just don't know because the show got canceled after 4 seasons.
I wanted them to meet
what
the
would have happened?
Romulans.
Yeah, like what would have happened had that show continued? Which, you know what, the show technically could continue.
They're all still alive.
Yeah, they're all still alive,
I'd be
and
well,
I'd be okay with that.
if Terry
I'd be
Matalas
okay with
ran
that.
it. Anybody else?
Yeah.
No.
Well, wait, hold on. Is he the guy that's doing?
He did Picard season 3. That's the only show he's
No, they need to bring the showrunner back who did seasons 3 and 4 of Enterprise.
Oh, I don't know.
Because he had a vision as to where he was going, and I think it was going to be a good vision because seasons 3 and 4 of Enterprise are genuinely fantastic for me.
No, they're definitely good.
And the general consensus from fans is that seasons 3 and 4 are great.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons 1 and 2 are rocky as hell.
I agree.
And I kind of agree with that. I agree with it more on season 1 than 2, but
I think season 2 they find their footing.
There's a lot of good in season 2.
Yeah.
I was so surprised with how much I liked season 2.
Anytime that you see Shran, chef's kiss.
Oh yeah,
Chef's
big
kiss.
time, big time.
All right, so we did my 3. We did Odo and Quark, Odo and Kira, and honorable mention / newfound appreciation for Malcolm and Tucker. Let's hear your 3, and then we'll talk about your 3.
Okay, I don't know if I can do this. It's 10:30. Okay, I'll do it.
Oh, we can stop if you want.
We'll power through it.
Powwow.
The first one I want to talk about is Julian Bashir and Garrick.
Oh, love them. Hold up.
I was going to do Julian Bashir and O'Brien because I genuinely liked their friendship.
They
I
they
genuinely
did
do.
build on me, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's pretty awesome that on their spare time, they're like, no, we're going to reenact the Alamo, and we're going to keep reenacting the Alamo until the defenders win.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so funny. That is something I would do.
And getting in like Spitfires and things like that. Like that's cool.
That is awesome. That is a lot of fun, and I think they have good chemistry together.
I do too.
I think they bounce off of each other very well because Julian Bashir is kind of the more suave, kind of
Young
more
guy.
yeah, and O'Brien is just your dude. Like, here, I'm gonna buy you a beer.
He's
You know,
settled down. He's married. He's
yeah,
got kids.
he's very earthly. He's very
Yeah.
and yet he's still got this bubbliness to him too that I think is very infectious. It's very O'Brien.
Mhm.
That makes me love him. I absolutely love O'Brien. I loved him in TNG, and I was so happy to see him come over and become a true character in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Because there was the inklings of him there in TNG, but it was about the other cast,
Oh,
as
yeah.
it should have been.
I agree.
Don't get me wrong.
He was a Barclay that turned into something.
That turned into something, yeah.
But Garrick and Julian. Oh.
Garrick from the first episode.
Oh.
With those two, I'm like, just fuck already.
I really thought they were. Like when I was watching
I really
for the first
too.
time, I took Julian as this guy that he will do anyone and anything.
No, I didn't have that with Julian Bashir.
I did.
I had that. I didn't have that with Julian Bashir. I said no. Julian Bashir is straight.
I think
Garrick.
I
was like, Garrick will do anybody and everything.
The guy who played Garrick, he confirmed in his.
I have to get his name.
Robertson.
Something Robinson.
I don't know. But anyway, in his episode, he talks about this quite a lot.
Andrew Robinson. He's in a lot of stuff.
And he directs a lot of stuff too. I think
he's in the first Hellraiser movie. He plays one of the main characters in Hellraiser too. Really good in that. Oh,
I think he runs like a off-Broadway theater. But anyway, in his episode of the Shuttlepod Show, he confirmed Garrick was bi-curious or pan-curious. I don't know the gender terms, but
he says that in the Deep Space Nine documentary that we went to see in theaters, Jim.
But the writer said
at first it was just about sex.
The writer said you can't say this because it's not kosher on television. You can't say this, but this is what Garrick is, and he ran with it, and you can tell in his facial impressions and the way that he says his lines is very leading. That he'll do anyone and anything.
He wants to fuck Julian Bashir, and you can't convince me otherwise. In the first 3 seasons where he's interacting with Julian, the way how he ogles Julian Bashir is, and I mean, his eyes are so full of desire.
And why is he gonna talk to this doctor?
And I'm like, you can't convince me otherwise. And eventually they explain why he's talking to this doctor and how he's getting all this information. Like I love the episode. Why I love Deep Space Nine so much, where they're like, how can we tell the Cardassians that the Klingons are coming without actually betraying our treaty with them and saying the Klingons are coming? Oops, I need to fix my jacket. We need a tailor. And so they bring Garrick in, and they just happen to be talking about the imminent Klingon invasion.
Yeah.
And Garrick immediately picks up on it, and I'm like, that is so good.
Yeah.
that is wonderful.
They do that often because whenever they do their weekly lunches, there would be times where Garrick would say to Julian something that, like, oh, you should really go to this place at this time. For reasons. And it's like, Julian wouldn't get it. That, like, oh, he's a Cardassian. He thinks he's a Cardassian spy and he can't trust him. Where at the end of the day, he's like, no, please go to this place. Listen to what these people are saying. I'm trying to save people. Like,
yeah. Well, that's just it. Garrick is a Cardassian spy in many ways. He is.
Up until a certain point.
Yes, and you know, there's the whole thing. There's kind of like a civil war in the first couple of seasons of DS9 when the Cardassian, one of the Obsidian Order has like completely fallen apart, and the Obsidian Order has been like a bedrock
For the
of
military.
of their
They
union forever.
took over the military.
Um. Yeah, like
It's like the
and that was a
Tal
big deal. Yeah, yeah, it was a coup. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was, and I love how even in the end, you still aren't quite sure who Garrick is.
Well, I remember I was asking you, I was like, is he actually a spy? And you wouldn't tell me.
100% he is.
He is.
He is, but
There's
I also
that same, not that same episode when Odo gets sick and he has to go back to the link and they're escorting him to the link and Julian says there's nothing I can do for you, but like it would be good to like rattle your mind and keep your mind busy, and Garrett comes in and lies to him and lies to him and lies to
yeah,
him about, I'm not a spy.
so many lies.
There's just this
Yeah.
coincidence that I was there, and Odo is able to keep up with him. Whereas me, the viewer, I'm like, what? Was he just a gardener?
Well, that's
like,
yeah. Well, that's just I loved it. How it was a very good episode because I had no idea what was happening.
Right.
Like in a good way.
Yeah.
And you're very much in Julian Bashir's shoes in that episode because everybody seems to be one step ahead of him at every turn. Well, meanwhile, Garrick is like checkmate already.
Yeah,
but,
he's won the game already.
Yes, he
and Odo's,
no, he hasn't won the Jim. He hasn't won the game. He is the game.
Odo's the only one that can. I don't know if he can
keep up with him.
He can't beat him.
Yeah, he can.
But he can
gotta
give him
keep
a run
up
for
with
his
him.
money.
Yeah, yeah. And I love their friendship that kind of forms too. It's not really a friendship. It's one of very mutual respect. Like, oh, I love that scene.
Tell me something, Odo. Anything.
Well, it's the scene at the end of that episode that I love.
Oh, where he says, maybe Garrick, we should get lunch sometime.
We should get lunch sometime.
And
maybe we should. And I love how Garrick goes, you know what's sad about all this? I really am a good tailor.
Good tailor. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. I really love that. Because there's something that Garrick talks about frequently that I like is that a good lie has sprinkles of truth in it.
Yes.
And I love that. And that's how he gets Julian to go along with a lot of his shenanigans so much. And I think Julian Bashir likes it. I think he would rather be going on escapades with Garrick than doing anything with Section 31.
Well, we know that because he has a fascination with spies because of all of his hologram programs.
Yeah,
which I think is a really good episode when I
love that Garrick partakes.
Yeah, and Garrick in I can't remember what the plot was or why, but like if they ended the crew. The crew got stuck in the
It's one of the very few hologram. Something's wrong with the hologram.
They had to store.
Something's wrong with the holodeck.
Yeah, they had to store the captain, Kira, Jadzia, and Worf, like their memory banks in the hologram while they were doing a story, and Julian had to play out through the story. But all the safety measures were turned off, and Garrick was in the story with him, and was like, I'm not doing this. I'm leaving. They're not worth my life. Because there's no safety precautions. And Julian shoots him with a pistol and says, you're not going anywhere. You're going through this story with me. And he has a freaking bullet hole in his neck.
And somehow, I think that turned Garrick on.
Oh, it did. The way that he goes...
Because... I'm being 100% serious. I don't like that arc that he has with that girl.
That's weird because Zadia no, it's not Zadia.
I thought it was Gul Dukat's daughter.
It is Gul Dukat's daughter.
Yeah,
she's like 13, and he's like 40.
And he's considerably older than her.
It's weird.
I would have treated it like a daughter more than
because Gul Dukat is not a father figure to
her. And that's how I would have approached it.
Yeah.
And it would still keep in line with the fact that he totally wants to bang Julian Bashir.
And the fact that he hates Gul Dukat.
Yes.
To be a father figure.
Every interaction between him and Gul Dukat oozes with charisma. The way how those two talk to each
They want to
other.
fudge too.
Oh, it's so
No way they don't.
good. We could share insults with each other all day if we want to, but oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
The only other character that I think Cardassians are full of good characters.
Damar.
That's just it. It's like I really want to sit here and say Garrick is my favorite Cardassian.
I do too, but I can't.
But I love what they did with Damar.
I do too.
The arc that Damar goes through is so good.
So good. He becomes the very person he wanted to destroy.
Yes. Well, it's not just that. It's him. He always wanted power. He always wanted to be a Gull.
Mm.
You know, like before that he was a Legate, and then when Skull Dukat got the axe, he became a Gull, only to realize that he has no power here. They've become prisoners on their own planet to the Dominion.
Yep.
And I fucking love it how we're totally off the rails right now, but that's fine. I love the fucking scene where he finally says, "I've had enough." Because he's turned into a bumbling version of himself. He is a total alcoholic,
yep.
Drunk all the time, sleeping with hookers. And all of a sudden, there's one scene where he looks at himself in the mirror. Instead of finishing the drink, he splashes it on the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And he sobers the fuck up. And when he is sober, he's one of the most competent characters in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
When he sobers up, the way how he takes charge, he makes decisions very quickly, and I think it's a testament to his leadership, admits that he needs help in some areas.
And he goes to none other than Kira Nerys.
Oh. There's such a great line. There's such a great line where he's like, "Why would they target innocent women and children? Anyone who would do that, pure evil." And then Kira goes, "Yeah, I wonder who would do that."
Because they did.
And then I love his reaction to that scene, too. He immediately looks at her and says, "We did that." And it's not that he denies it either.
Nope.
He's just like, "We did do that."
But now that the tides have turned, he sees how cruel it is.
Yes. I would have loved, if there's any show that deserves a sequel series, I think Deep Space Nine deserves something. Because I would love to see the ramifications
I don't think
on Cardassia.
I don't think any of the characters want to come back, though, the actors.
No, I don't blame him. But no, I'm just saying I would love to see Cardassia after the Dominion War. I would love to see them rebuilding. I would love to see their interactions with other nations and how the paradigm shifts.
I'd like to see,
changed.
the 50 years later when
because
the Cardassians
we never see that,
are...
and we have not seen that in Star Trek. We could have with Nemesis.
We're always back to the Borg.
We always go back to the Borg, and I'm like, come on, why can't we do something with the Romulans and the Cardassians? You know how awesome that would have been if we focused on... first off, I hate the fact that Romulus no longer exists. I hate that whole thing. I hate that whole idea.
I was going to say, we got some Romulan update, and it's stupid.
And it's awful. And because I was like, no, I want to know about this Romulan Civil War. The Senate has fallen because of Nemesis. There's so much political potential
untapped gold
in
mine.
That, and they did nothing with it. And it's the same thing with after the Dominion War. It's like suddenly Dominion War ends, and we don't know anything else. Like, are you kidding me? What are the Romulans doing right now? What are the Cardassian Unions doing right now? How are the Klingons reacting to this whole thing, considering the fact that their entire government got flipped upside down?
Yeah, the Dominion invaded their government and destroyed it.
And nearly destroyed it. Yeah, and I want to see Chancellor Gowron. I want to see no, is it Gowron?
Yeah, it's Gowron. It's Gowron.
Yeah, that Klingon that Worf likes.
Do the
so
eye
much.
thing.
Oh no, that's not him.
You're thinking of Martok.
The guy that takes over. Martok. Yes, I want to see Chancellor Martok being Chancellor Martok.
I was watching an episode of Enterprise, and the guy who played Martok was a Klingon, but because he didn't have his eye patch, it took me quite a while to realize, oh, that's the same guy.
Yeah, I love it.
But anyway,
And he's got such a but boy, howdy, have we gone off the
Garrick
rails.
and Julian, great, such naive, innocent, fresh
well, I
blood.
love how towards the end of the show, freaking Garrick really does turn to both Julian, but shockingly, he turns to Jadzia's second form there.
Ezri.
The girl
Ezri.
Ezri.
Yeah.
He opens way the fuck up to Ezri.
Yeah.
In the final season.
Also,
and
that's her job. She's a psychiatrist or
Well,
therapist.
there's something like that, but I just can't believe how much he opens up to her. But it doesn't feel forced.
No.
It feels like somebody who has had this pent up for years.
And he has.
Because there's one scene where he explodes at her. I mean, he yells at her, he grabs her, he explodes at her, and I love how she takes it. First off, Ezri, underrated character.
She's only in a season and a half.
She's only in a season, and she had so much going against her, not just from the show itself, but also the fan base, and I think she did a great job.
I think she did phenomenal.
Her arc with Worf is fantastic.
Her work arc is amazing.
Yeah, her work arc is fantastic.
I do like
Worf
that
is
too,
amazing.
You know,
it's amazing
when Worf finally accepts this is not Jadzia. Yeah. It's Dax.
It's not Jadzia.
But it is not Jadzia. Yeah.
It's wonderful. It is genuinely a wonderful moment. Yeah, and it's such a human friendship too. Mm-hmm. Like it's we fucked up in the heat of the moment. We fucked
Literally.
up. How are we going to move on from that? And I love that. It's so nuanced, and the show is so fucking good, guys.
Watch Deep Space.
Watch Deep
anybody
Space
that's not a Star Trek fan, I say just watch Deep Space Nine.
Just watch Deep Space Nine, man.
Watch the first
so
season,
good.
And even if you don't.
No.
Okay, first 2 seasons.
Be careful. Be careful with season 1.
Watch the first 2 seasons, and if you don't like it after that, stop. Don't watch any more Star Trek.
Yeah.
But Deep Space Nine, that show is good for anyone, I think. Especially, we're talking about characters and relationships, and I don't mean just romantic. We're talking about mutual respect. We're talking about character development. We're talking about friendships. We're talking about lovers. Mm-hmm. That show has everything. Mm-hmm. And it does almost every kind of relationship near perfectly.
Near perfectly, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Near perfectly. My next one for my number 2 is I really like the friendship between Data and Geordi.
Oh, why did I not say that? Oh.
I'm saying this one because you didn't say it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I genuinely think that is one of the best friendships in Star Trek.
I do too.
And I love how it evolved from season 1 to the final season.
Yeah.
It's very subtle.
It's basically Geordi starts out as his doctor because he's the closest thing to a doctor.
To a doctor for an android, yeah.
And my favorite line between Geordi and Data is I think Data's memory gets wiped or something like that. And he's like struggling to get it back. And he does. And Geordi goes, well, you don't have feelings. Why do you care if you can remember me or not? And he goes, you're right. I don't care about you, but my positronic brain gets into rhythms. And without you there, my rhythm is wrong. Or something along those lines.
It's something along those lines.
Like, oh
and it's the closest thing to an android could say to "I will miss you."
Yeah.
Because FYI, I don't like the emotion chip. I've never liked the emotion chip.
I don't either.
I think it was a complete waste of potential, and it was also just a waste of time. However,
but those episodes like that, when he does not have feelings, but he does, are really good.
Well, I want to turn it on its face for a second, because there's one episode where Geordi doesn't trust Data, and it's the one where the Enterprise, they get all knocked out. They all get knocked out, and they wake up, and they've got to piece everything back together. And it's so clear
Data
that
knows.
Data is not telling them something.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. And when I love it when Geordi is kind of getting some times and stuff off of Data.
He's getting pieces.
He's plugging into him and everything, pieces, yeah. Data looks over at him and says, Geordi, is something the matter? Because he picks up that Geordi is uncomfortable. And Geordi just says, I feel like you're not telling the truth. And I love how Data's like, I'm technically not telling the truth.
Right.
I'm obeying an order.
Right.
And well, what I like about it is that Data doesn't lie throughout the entire episode. He just doesn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah. Because even when they have that image up there that turns out to be a fake image, Data doesn't lie on that. He says exactly what the image is.
Mm-hmm.
He says that's an he goes, that's a star going supernova or something like that.
Right.
He says what it is. He doesn't say that's a picture. He leaves it out. That's the difference.
He's under direct order to not talk
from
about
Picard,
anything
yes,
that happened.
which is infuriating to the crew because they're like, how?
But he took it literally.
And the scene. Well, he had to.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where Picard finally pieces it together. Or not what happened, but he starts piecing together. Okay,
something happened.
Yeah, I love it where he's got Data all alone in his captain's room, and he goes, Data, I order you to tell me. And Data goes, you can't because you ordered me not to.
Good episode.
And I love that moment. But I love how uncomfortable it is, or how almost hurt Data is that Geordi doesn't trust him.
Right.
And it's all conveyed with Brent Spiner's face, where you see hints of I'm sorry, and I think he says I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
In that, and I think he means it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lie to his friend, and
no,
he's not lying.
No,
he doesn't want to withhold information.
This information, yes. And the way how Data plays it is he never lies; he just withholds information, and it's a very good scene. It's just a very good scene of their friendship and stuff like that. It's also very reminiscent of in the season 2 episode where Data is on trial, and they show William Riker. There's that, and he turns him off. But I'm talking about the scene where they show him a holographic projection of Tasha Yar that he keeps on his desk.
Why do you do that if you don't have emotions?
If you don't have emotions,
right.
Or
feelings.
Anything, why do you do that?
Yeah.
And I really like that.
That was one of the better episodes of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's a fantastic episode. Yeah. Season 2, I don't care what anyone says. Season 2 has some good episodes in it. Some real bad stinkers, but it's got some really good episodes in it.
You can say that again.
But I just think Geordi and Data have good chemistry together.
And I think with them, it's not so much of, 5 really big moments. It's the 500 little moments.
Yeah, well, that's TNG in a nutshell to me.
Yeah. There's not that many
TNG doesn't have many
stories.
Mm-hmm.
And, there isn't a ton of character development with all of the characters. There is a little bit here and there, but you can see the friendship of Data and Geordi. I don't think any other character in TNG has a friendship like that. You may be able to argue that, Crusher and Picard have a relationship, but they never go anywhere with it. And Riker and Troy have a relationship, but at least in the show, they never go anywhere with it. It's just they have a friendship because they used to be lovers.
There were hints of a new relationship with Data, but it got dropped because the character didn't come back, and that was the potential relationship between Data and Polanski. That was hinted at throughout all of season 2. That it was going to develop into a mother-son relationship, especially when she storms into Data's room, calls him Data, and then says, for the first time, because she always said Data, just as a little insult to him. But then all of a sudden she calls him Data, and then she says, "Why are you in here sulking like a little boy?"
Mhm.
And Data's like, I'm not sulking. I'm not sulking at all. And I'm incapable of sulking. And she's like, you are sulking, sir. And it's a good moment between the two of them. Because she never liked him from the get-go. She doesn't trust the android. She doesn't do anything, which I guess because of Star Trek Picard is kind of apt. But she never liked any of that. And yet he clearly grows on her, and she clearly grows on him.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
only
had
one
the
season, though.
inklings. Yeah, it had the inklings of being an interesting relationship, of being a mother son relationship, because she doesn't have any children. She
Right.
never fell in love with anything. And she's an old lady at this point, and I'm like, there could have been something there. And I think it would have been arguably, I think, more interesting than had Crusher not returned.
I agree.
I think it's more interesting than what Crusher had.
Especially because they did nothing with it. And I can understand that's a bigger risk to, make the relationship flesh out with Picard and Crusher. It's, still an interesting story, but having the relationship flesh out with Pulaski and Data is safer, I guess would be the word. And I think that they would have done it, whereas they did nothing with Crusher and Picard. And while we're talking about, just Brent Spiner and being able to have range. Can we just? I know we've done a lot of these side notes. Can we just talk about some of the episodes where he plays Data, Lore, and Dr. Noonien Singh all in the same episode?
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I've never fully liked all the lore. Some lore has a couple of good episodes,
I
but
don't
to
either.
me, a lot
I
of
think
them
he's
are.
overused. But
Yeah,
Brent
I think
Spiner or
is
Spinner
great.
is fantastic.
Is fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. And you know what? I know I don't really like Star Trek Nemesis very much, but Data's death scene in Star Trek Nemesis, I love.
Mm.
I love. I love how he puts the transporter on Picard. He looks at the thing and he says goodbye.
Yep.
And how that means, which I actually think that's one of the few things that the movies did right. I love the relationship that Picard forms with Data over the course of the movies.
Well, I was just gonna say because I would almost
I think,
disagree because he didn't have
well,
that relationship in the show.
now here's the thing though, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how they don't like this new Picard and how Picard is very flowery and when before he was really cold and everything like that. I think they go too far with it in Picard. I think they go way too far with it in Picard, and I think they started going too far with it and making Picard an action hero in the movies. However, I do like the idea that as Picard gets older, he gets a bit softer and he gets a little bit more of a gentle touch. I kind of like that as he gets older. And personally, I think that fits with the final episode of TNG, where he finally plays poker with all of his friends, which is so perfect. But to me, I like that. I like that, and I like the fact that he kind of forms a bond with Data. I just wish they handled it a little differently. That's the thing. Because to me, Picard is a sap now, and I don't like that.
It's gone.
It's too far.
I hate when people say that Trek is woke. I know everything's woke. It's too progressive, and I think Star Trek has always been progressive.
Oh, it always has been.
all the
Big time.
all the way back to Uhura and Kirk kissing and being one of, if not the first, interracial kiss on American
Yeah,
television.
it was one of, if not the first. Yeah.
How can you say that it's not been progressive? But it was never.
Yeah.
Now it's all up in your face and it's so forced. And I think
Well,
that's its main
what
downfall.
I love about old Trek is how nuanced it can get,
Yes.
and how it will ask questions and oftentimes not answer them. Deep
Well,
Space Nine, Deep Space Nine in particular, is really good at asking a bunch of these really deep questions and forcing you to
to
make
decide.
answers and
Well,
and stuff.
it's like that episode with we were talking about Riker and that gender neutral colony.
Yeah,
And I think yes, in Enterprise they handled it
way
better,
better.
but I think that they handled it well in that episode too, because it's one of the few times in TNG where there was not a good ending. She didn't kill herself, but she got gender reaffirming
Yes.
uh,
Yeah, which was the
medication,
which was clearly a
hypnosis.
metaphor for like the gay conversion
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
That
And I thought
nonsense.
that was it's not as good as the Enterprise one, but I thought that was still a good
It is. It
episode.
is
And
still
again,
yeah,
it
yeah.
leaves
Let
it
me make
up to
that clear.
you.
I like that episode a lot.
It leaves it up to
Yeah.
the viewer to decide, is this right?
Well, I think they ask it, is it right for Riker to intervene the way how he does? I think that's where
Yes.
the question comes in. Not so much
Yeah,
because I don't think I don't think they make it blatantly clear that what's happening to her is not
it's
right.
not right. But it's like, what
How
is the
yeah,
answer?
because this is a different culture, this is a different species, this is a different group of people that genuinely think differently than them and act differently than them. Should they intervene? And I think that's where the moral dilemma comes in more
Right.
than anything else. Uh, but as far as yeah, I just really, it's always the little interactions. Going back to Geordi
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Jordy and Data.
and Data. There's something that I do want to mention really quick is I love how good Geordi becomes at explaining things to Data when he has a question.
The human answer,
The
yeah.
human
The
answer.
human,
He's
yeah.
very good. Crusher is also very good at it. Actually,
Yes.
Crusher's very.
Yeah.
I'd argue Crusher's better at it than Troy.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she has some understanding of the brain
Well,
and like
well,
social
I
communication
I think the
skills.
reason why Crusher's good at it is because she's a mom.
She
I think that's
I
why.
can see that. I can see that. She kind of treats him as if he's a teenager, not her teenager,
Yeah, well,
but
she treats him like a kid when answering the questions because she's clearly very formulating. All right, I've got to word it this way so that he
mhm,
can understand. And I'm like, that's how parents act with teenagers.
toddlers.
Yeah, not
Oh,
I wouldn't say toddlers because but teenagers I would say because she's just very good at it. The other one is Guinan. Guinan is just good with everybody though.
she's a people person too.
Guinan's wonderful. I don't look. I do not like Whoopi Goldberg at all, but I love
Mhm.
Guinan.
And it's great. There's like one
um,
episode, I don't even remember what it is, where there's like a fight in her bar and she just randomly pulls out a phaser
yeah,
out of nowhere.
yeah,
It's like,
I
why
love it.
did Biden, you've had that thing for how long?
Why not?
I thought it was cool.
I love her adventures with Picard. Oh my God, that's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut to you. That's another relationship I love very well. Not a relationship, friendship I love very well. The friendship between Picard and Guinan is
Mhm.
wonderful. In fact, I would actually argue that that's the only real friendship he has with somebody consistently throughout the show. He does have romantic interests with a couple of other people. Um, there's that archaeologist that steals everything that
Yes.
he has for some reason,
Vosh.
yeah, and I really like that dynamic because it's so clear that he doesn't want to like her, but for some
He
reason he is
does.
unbelievably attracted to her.
Oh yeah.
He has
Because
fun with her,
he
you know?
has a thing for uh archaeology as well.
Yeah. But I think it's beyond that. It's I think he likes Vosh
The danger
because of the danger
aspect.
of it because he can be
It's
something.
taboo.
Yeah, he can. It's tapping into like a sort of carnal side of Picard that he never gets to let out. And she plays on that. She totally manipulates him every episode that
Hmm.
she's in, uh, which is kind of fun to watch because rarely is it really like in a malicious way. It's just kind of in a
No.
mischievous
And I
kind
think
of way.
she may not love him, but she cares for
Oh,
him.
definitely. Oh, definitely. She cares for him. And I think she genuinely enjoys his presence. Um,
Yes.
there's that episode where she's on the Enterprise, and it drives him nuts. And I'm like, that's funny. She's enjoying driving him nuts. It's pretty good. But there's that episode where he actually kind of grows a romantic relationship with somebody, and they go into the middle of nowhere on the Enterprise in one of the vats and start playing music.
Oh,
And
yes.
Picard, pulls out the flute from my favorite episode of
Yes.
Star Trek Anything, The Inner Light.
Yes.
That's my favorite
Great
Star Trek
episode.
Anything, is The Inner Light. And the fact that he's willing to show
Play this music with her.
that is the most personal thing in his life.
Yeah.
Is that flute and that music.
Because anytime he played that before, because he had played it before, he was in his room, and as soon as somebody knocked on his door, he stopped playing. He put it away before he opened the door.
And that's a later episode too. I want to say that's either in late season 6 or early season 7, and that's also when Picard started opening up to people more.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. I do like that. Yeah. So I do. What does that have to do with Data?
Positronic brain.
Nothing much. Nothing much, Jim. This is Tangents, the live stream.
Everything has been a tangent
tonight. It's awful.
Because we're thinking about relationships between these two people, but then we're like, but my favorite interaction with this person and this person is not together. It's separated.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1, let's get to it.
Number 1 is fun. It's a, for the record, it's a 3-way. All right.
Ooh, kinky.
All right. It's Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and how could it not be Kirk, Spock, and McCoy?
Really?
How could it not be these 3 goobers?
I'm a goofy goober.
The way they argue, particularly Spock and McCoy. Oh my God. They argue nonstop, and then Kirk always has to be the guy in the middle being like, shut up. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. And I love how McCoy and Spock annoy each other. It's so clear that they annoy each other, but they love each other. It's almost like like a brother relationship. Like I love
they tit for tat each other all day,
every day. And it's like they have fun with it. And it's one of my favorite lines is in Star Trek 3, where Kirk says, "You're suffering from a Vulcan mind meld, Doctor." And he looks up at him and goes, "Oh, that green-blooded bastard."
Even from the dead.
No. He says it's his...
I know he doesn't say
He
that,
says it's his revenge for all those arguments he lost.
He lost.
That's so funny. That is so funny, but also unbelievably McCoy, and it fits that relationship so well, that friendship so well.
He would not have made a joke like that unless he had that close relationship.
Absolutely. And it's really good. Their friendship is really good. Almost every interaction they have together is genuinely really good. Like I like even in 5, I love how they stick with Kirk through thick and thin. Like they could have easily have been mind warped. Like in the original script, they were supposed to get their minds messed up, and it was just supposed to be Kirk, but it was Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley said no, they wouldn't do that. They would not abandon Kirk. And I love how in Star Trek 6, I love how when McCoy and Kirk are put on trial and put on Rua Pente, I love how the entire time Spock is non-stop being like, how am I going to get these guys back? And he already kind of has a plan. Kirk has a tracker on him. They don't have to say anything to each other. They know that this is what they're doing. Non-verbal communication. Even in Star Trek 2, hours may seem like days. I love how they're able to communicate without actually communicating, because they know each other so well, and their chemistry is so good. I look, as much as I think that their chemistry is good in the movies, I think, and you can watch them on their own, as I did growing up. I saw the movies before I saw the show. I think it does benefit watching the show as well, going into the movies, because you really see that friendship form. And Kirk is kind of the linchpin of the 3 of them. Kirk kind of has to mediate the most and everything like that. Believe it or not, I actually think that this is one of the few things J.J. Abrams' Trek got right, is the relationship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. I think they nailed that. In fact, I think the actors did a great job, too. I just think the scripts are terrible. But it's just the amount of chemistry that they have together. Like, your favorite of those films, Star Trek 4. Every scene with Spock and Kirk is gold.
I think my favorite is still like when they're in the truck with that girl, and they're like, she's like, "Do you guys like Italian or spaghetti or whatever?" And they're just like, "Yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, yes."
Yes, yeah, I love that. I love that. And what's great about that movie too is it's because it's Spock kind of relearning himself a bit,
Himself. Yeah.
and by the end, he gets it. By the end, he's like,
Yeah.
he is my best friend. I love this
Yeah.
man. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is that platonic love that they have that I just adore. Like there's something. The way how they love each other is so beautiful, and I know there's all the gay crap that gets thrown
No,
out there
but
about those
you know,
two,
we
but
make that joke. We make that joke about a lot of these
mhm,
characters, like, oh, Julian and Garrick, just go get a room.
yeah, just
You
go
know,
get a room. But
they're gay.
yeah,
No, I don't think that Julian and Garrick love each other.
no, Garrick wants to sleep with
McCoy,
them.
Spock, and Kirk love each
They
other. They
love
are
each other.
brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
They
In
are
fact,
brothers.
they say that multiple times. There's one scene that I it's in Boston Legal, so it's not in Star Trek, but I think the line fits Star Trek very well. There's a scene where William Shatner's character and James Spader's character are sitting next to each other in jail, and William Shatner goes, "Where are our significant others to bail us out?" And then James Spader looks over him and says, "Denny, we are our significant others because they're best friends." And I'm like,
Right.
that really describes Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in a nutshell, right
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
It is, and like I love in Star Trek 6 when that friendship is challenged at the beginning, because Spock makes a mistake and knows he made a mistake because he assumes Kirk would be on board with talking with the Klingons because he volunteers them to go and do that.
Hmm.
And Kirk is not okay with that. He hates the Klingons. And I love how he gets angry at Spock for all of this. And it becomes an overarching theme throughout it. And it ends with Kirk going to Spock saying, "I get it now. I get it now." And then Spock saying a wonderful line is it possible that we have grown so old we've outlived our usefulness? And it goes into the theme of, are they so unbendable now because of their past that they can't change to a new reality? They can't get past their own prejudices, which is
Like
one of the
an old
many
dog.
themes of Star Trek 6. And
Hmm.
I love how angry Kirk gets with Spock there for a moment, especially Jim, they are dying, and Kirk just snaps on a whim, let
Let
them
them.
die,
Yep.
which is very Kirk. Kirk is very spurt of the moment. And oftentimes it gets him in trouble on the show. He'll say something and not really mean it, but he feels it, and he'll just spurt it out.
It's the
Um,
initial response, but then once he puts two
yeah,
seconds of thought behind it,
yeah. McCoy is more
that's
so
not what
like
I
that.
really think.
McCoy fits that bill a little bit more. McCoy definitely is very brash. I think he's a lot more brash than Kirk is. Kirk is definitely more of a captain. Kirk's greatest strength, in my opinion, is as a tactician.
He's good on his
He
feet.
is the best on his feet. Because I don't think he's a good grand tactician at all. And I've said it many times before. I think Kirk himself was an absolutely terrible admiral. Uh, he was an amazing captain. And that's where he was good. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he loved doing. And he got his ship back. And I love that in Star Trek 1. Oh, you want to talk about their relationship? I love their stuff in Star Trek the Motion Picture. And
Hmm.
how Kirk and McCoy seem to have gotten along just fine pretty quickly. Like, it's almost right where they left off, which doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of person I think McCoy is. I know doctors, they love to change things, which is very McCoy line. And I love how Kirk laughs at that. Like, that's very fitting. And, like, I love how Kirk goes up to McCoy when he first comes on. He's like, "I need you. Bones, I need you. Badly.
Right. He doesn't
I
want to come
need
back.
this sense of familiarity. And when he reaches out his hand, that's when McCoy takes it.
Right.
Well, permission to come aboard. And I really love that. I love all that. But when Spock comes back, I even love how McCoy runs up to the bridge. He actually has a reason to run up to the bridge in that scene.
Unlike the other
Unlike
six
the other
times.
6 times. And when he runs up there, right, he goes, well, so help me God, I'm actually glad to see you. And Spock just looks at him with this deadpan look. Because for Spock in that film, it's about him regaining his friendship with them, regaining that sense of humanity. Because that's the big theme of the entire film is becoming human. What makes us human?
What makes us human?
Yeah. The human adventure is just beginning. It's the tagline of the movie, which is, by the way, my favorite tagline of any movie ever. And
have you heard the tagline to the Fast 10 movie?
Oh no, is it seatbelts?
No.
Damn it!
It's the end of the road begins.
Fuck off. I still think
So
the
bad.
ideas that we came up with Tommy on the radio
Are
show
way better than what they're doing now.
is way better. Like, come on.
Anyway.
Come on. Fast and Furious on the playground? That'd be great.
Fast and Furious duct taping the world back together after a massive earthquake.
Yeah. Way better. Anyways,
Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And
yeah, I love how at the end when Spock does his mind meld and he cries while lying down on that bed, he holds Kirk's hand for a moment and he says, it's this simple feeling that V'ger is looking for but cannot understand. And it's at that moment he starts calling Kirk Jim, not Admiral.
Right.
And it's beautiful. It's not over the top. It's not in your face. It's not him making some grand speech.
I didn't even catch it the first time.
It's beautiful, Jim.
when we watched it in the movie theater the second time, it hit me more then. When I was watching it for the first time, I was just trying to soak it all in, and you don't pick up on those subtle things. But when you watch it the second time, it's like, oh yeah, that's not Spock-like. But it is Spock.
It is because he's been going through the Kolinahr, so he's ultimately. It's really interesting how like a lot of movies today will be like, oh, we're getting them all together. We're going to do it in the beginning, and it's going to be big. Like the Avengers, it was like in the beginning. That was like where all these characters were getting together. On the motion picture, that happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's a slow build.
The crew is not entirely back until the end of that movie, where they're flying off into space. Out there, that away. I love that. That is so Kirk.
Where to, Captain? Out there.
That away. That is so Kirk. That's not even funny. But
I know that you're not going to watch Strange New Worlds, but it's about Spock. So
it does have
they dropped a new trailer and for season 2, and I have to say there's one line that Spock says that I think you will like if you haven't heard this. So you know how whenever there's a captain in the seat and Picard's is engage and make it so or whatever.
Yep.
Spock is sitting in the chair and Uhura says like, do the thing, and he's like, what thing? And she says, well, every person in that chair has a thing that they say that when they want to go. And he goes, I would like the ship to go now. And I thought that was a very Spock thing.
No, I don't like that because that's meta without being clever about it.
How is it meta?
That's so meta, and it's trying to be funny, and I'm like,
you don't think that Spock would say, I would like the ship to go now?
No. He would just say, go.
No, I think he would. I think young Spock would.
No.
Because this is before
I don't.
Kirk.
I don't because I don't think J.J. Abrams' interpretation of Spock is correct. I'm sorry. I don't think Spock would beat up a guy out of anger nonstop and punch him 18 million times out of anger. I don't like that. I flat out do not like that.
Spock
That's
beat
that
somebody up?
new Star. Oh yeah, big time. New Trek is full of that type of humor that you just described, and it drives me up the wall.
I don't know. I like it that one.
Because Kirk doesn't have a saying either. When he does that stuff, Kirk doesn't have a saying. He just says now.
TNG did, Janeway did.
What was
Cisco
Janeway's?
kind of did.
What was Janeway's? Tell me, Jim.
I can't remember.
What was Janeway's?
I can't remember. I know Pike's is hit it.
That actually fits. Hate. That does fit Pike.
Yeah, that one I don't hate. All right. Well, I thought it was funny. I thought it was a Vulcan joke. Maybe it's a good Vulcan joke, but not a Spock joke. I don't know Spock, Kirk, and McCoy as well as you.
Well, you know the movies, and the movies are
I do know the
pinnacle of their relationship.
The movies are good.
Yeah.
I can't watch. I could rewatch those movies. I don't know if I would want to, willingly go and rewatch the TNG movies.
Oh my God, yeah. The TOS movies are way better than the TNG movies.
I would definitely go back and rewatch them. I wouldn't do that for TNG. But I definitely see the relationship between those three, and I kind of want to give an honorable mention to Scotty in there as well. Specifically in I think it's 4. When they're looking for the polymer for the ship, and they're trying to build it, and you have McCoy and you have Scotty in that computer room and talking to the computer, and he's like, "Hello, computer," and he goes, "Oh, did you try talking to the speaker? Ah, yes. Hello, computer."
Well, that's played up for comedic effect. If you watch the original series, Scotty is an unbelievably competent commander.
I don't doubt
excellent. He does an excellent job because whenever the three of them, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are on the planet doing whatever, it's usually Scotty who is in charge of the Enterprise. And there are several episodes where Scotty will. There's one where he bluffs the aliens into backing down, and the moment that the aliens go away, suddenly he just deflates, and he's like, whew. He's like, and it's really good.
That scene isn't that he's incompetent. I'm saying that he is also.
No. I didn't mean that at all. I didn't mean. No, I didn't think you were interpreting that wrong. I do think
that was. How do you know that he didn't build this?
Yeah,
how do you know he wasn't the person that discovered it?
I love that hand waving
of the time travel. That's a good banter with Scotty and McCoy. So I think he deserves an honorable mention, although he is not part of the trio.
No, he's not. But if there was to be any other character that could join the trio,
he would be next in line.
Yeah. Scotty always had the best lines. And Scotty was always my favorite,
giving it all she's got, Captain.
Scotty was always my favorite growing up. I loved Scotty in TOS. More so than the movies. But yeah, it's like I don't like the J.J. Abrams thing of Spock liking Uhura.
That's the thing too.
Yeah, that was the thing, and I'm like, that didn't work very well.
I have not seen the J.J. Abrams movies. That's probably the next thing I should watch.
Yeah, I just didn't like them. It just doesn't work for me. It didn't work for me.
I know there's a third one, like, supposedly in the works.
Star Trek? No, there's a fourth. Star Trek Beyond is the third one. And,
the fourth one
Star Trek Beyond is actually my favorite of the three. It feels the most like a Star Trek episode. It feels the most like a Star Trek TOS episode. Particularly a TOS episode. Which I'm like, cool, that's cool. But no, I fucking love. To me, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are the holy trinity of characters in Star Trek. They are the characters in Star Trek as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? I will go as far as this. If it was not for Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, we would not have any of the characters that we have in the rest of Star Trek and the way how they're presented. We would not
Right, yeah.
have Captain Picard, Riker, and all of that. We would not have uh, Cisco, Jadzia, and Kira. We wouldn't have
Right.
any of those
No,
without
I
Kirk, Spock, and
wholeheartedly
McCoy.
agree.
Yeah, they set
I
the golden standard of
mm.
we need characters like this.
And it's the high that you always try to get again, but you're never going to get that
You're
high.
never going to quite reach that. You can get really close.
Right.
And we've talked about it ad nauseum. Many did come close, in my opinion,
Hmm.
but they're not. There's also the
They're not the
chemistry.
same.
There's also the chemistry that the actors have with each other, which I think is a testament because oftentimes Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy got along very well, but DeForest Kelley was kind of an oddball. He was kind of very independent, kind of off on his own. I think it's a testament to their acting,
Right.
how good
That
they.
you wouldn't be able to tell
Yeah, you
people
can't tell them, and
off screen were
everyone
not.
fucking laughs at me. But some of my favorite Kirk, Spock, and McCoy moments are in Star Trek V. Like I love it when they're climbing up the elevator or they're climbing up the shaft, and all of a sudden they get on Spock's jetpack and they start falling. and McCoy goes, "Oh, I think we're too heavy." No. It was Spock goes. He goes, "I think we're too heavy," and Kirk just goes, "It must have been all those marshmallows," in, in reference to them on on the planet there or on
When he
Earth.
didn't know what a marshmallow
Yeah,
was or
because he didn't,
something.
and McCoy fucked with um he knew Spock would look it up what to do for camping, and so he messed with his communicator thing and said
His
marshmallow is
tricorder. Yeah.
is a marshmallow. We're gonna and it's such a tiny detail. It's such a tiny
Yeah.
little thing, and you can see just how satisfied McCoy is and how Kirk just glances at him. And doesn't correct him, by the way. He doesn't correct Spock.
But then you can tell when they're going down, on the jetpack, like you said, just how nonchalantly he goes, "Yeah, it must have been all those marshmallows." Still doesn't correct him.
No.
Just,
And I'm like,
all the
that's good. I
marshmallows.
like that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
the problem to me with Star Trek V is all the plot stuff. The plot stuff I think is such a mess.
Right.
But some of those character stuff is wonderful. The campfire scenes at the beginning and at the end of Star Trek V are some of my favorite Trek moments. Just the three. I could have had an entire movie of just the three of them sitting there talking with each other. And I love that. I love that. And there's even a conversation they have where it's like, why don't we have wives and stuff like that? And Kirk just kind of goes, well, that's because we got each other. I mean, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than
It
this.
doesn't get any better than this. And I absolutely love that. I love that. And like I love the conversation and the admission that Kirk has here is him in a very vulnerable state. He says, "I will die alone." You know, he just knows that. And
I knew I wouldn't. I wasn't going to die because you weren't there.
and
Because you were there, excuse me.
yeah. And I think it's two very good scenes. I even don't mind them singing "Row, row, row your boat," and them getting kind of drunk, singing it. Like I think that's fun. Like when freaking McCoy is like, "Come and get it," and being absolutely obnoxious, and then he's like, "Oh, these beans are very." He gives these beans to Spock, and Spock goes, He goes through all the flavors like a Vulcan does, and he says, "This is good." And he's and McCoy goes, "It's my secret recipe." And then Kirk goes, "Can I have some of your secret recipe, Bones?" And he just hands him a flask of whiskey. And I'm like, that's funny. That's funny. That's good interaction there. And then I love how it ends with them singing "Row, row, row your boat," and Spock actively participating this time. And I'm like, I don't care. I love it. I really like it, and I think it leads very well into Star Trek VI. Believe it or not, I just like it. What can I say? I enjoy it. I enjoy that stuff.
They are, and I think you said it perfectly. They are the gold standard.
Yeah, they really are. Even when they're.
I don't think we've had I don't think we've had a trio
Not a
since
trio.
then.
No.
We've had great friendships, mutual respects, and relationships, but no
No
trios, I
trios.
don't think,
No trios. I call them the Holy Trinity. Um,
for a reason.
yeah, they're just very good with each other. I mean, they also
Mm.
complement each other because you have Kirk, who's the leader and has to make the rational decisions. Then you have Spock, who is pure logic and not really emotional when it comes to decision making at all. And then you have McCoy, who is overly emotional when it comes to decision making.
Mhm.
And I think it fits very well. There's just a good dynamic there on paper. That fits very well. Well, Jim, we have rambled on far too
I
long.
like Star Trek.
You know what? This might as well have just been. Let's talk about every single character individually.
Oh no! We gotta get Gonzo and this guy and
Oh
that
my
guy.
god, we haven't even talked about Shran. No.
I could talk about Shran for a whole another 20,
Oh
30
good god, I
minutes.
love Shran. I love Shran, and I haven't even completed
Pink skin.
Enterprise yet, and I love Shran. Don't underestimate the pink skins. That sounds so dirty.
Or Morn. Never says a word. Great
Morn
character.
is really the glue that holds Deep Space Nine together. Actually, without Morn, the entire
Yeah.
whenever for the record, whenever Morn isn't there, it goes to shit. Everything goes to shit.
Well, let's leave it at this with the characters. Without Spock, Kirk, and McCoy, there would be no Star Trek. Without Morn, there would be no DS9.
I actually would go as far as to say there would be no science fiction as a genre without Morn. If you really look
He's
at it,
more important. Oh.
I love that episode where Morn gets interrogated, and like they just they just ask him a question, and because he never talks, right? And so he just kind of goes, and I'm like, that's so funny. And then there's an episode where like Morn pretends he's dead
Just to get all his
just
money.
to get all of his money, and I'm like, this is so funny. This is fucking great, and I love
He
it.
sends Quark on a wild goose hunt.
I love how all the characters are like, we got to figure out what's going on with Morn. He's just always sitting there. It's so funny. It's so funny, but it's good.
I think the best part of that episode is when they find Morn's stash and Quark finds it and he's like, it's just worthless 24-karat gold.
Yes. Oh my god. Well, that's right because the Ferengi.
It's gold pressed latinum.
Yeah, they like the laudanum inside, not the
gold.
gold, which is the joke.
Yes.
It's really funny. I just love that. But Morn's the glue that holds everything together. Actually, yeah.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi in general would be
again,
nothing without Morn.
When we're talking about Jellicoe and Barclay, if you're not a fan of Star Trek, you're gonna be like,
Ooh,
who's Morn?
who the hell is Morn? Morn is only the greatest character ever written in the history of literature.
His dialogue.
Well, no, that's what makes him so good is that he has no dialogue.
No dialogue.
Yeah, it's all conveyed through body language and facial expressions.
He doesn't even. He can't even turn his head.
No,
because it's just a cylinder, so he always just rotates.
Yeah, he just rotates in his chair. Isn't there an episode where it's his birthday?
Yeah. He's got 3 hairs on the top of his head.
It's so funny. I love
Morn.
I love Star Trek. I love it so much. I love it so much. And that's what's really great about Star Trek is that there's literally almost something for everybody within Star Trek.
It's every genre.
Yeah. Hidden behind sci-fi. Well, Jim, if you wanna pimp yourself out really quick, that'd be fantastic.
All right. Well, my name is Jim James Fresca. You can follow me on YouTube. I recently made a YouTube channel, and I stream every Thursday. I play Forza Horizon. Currently, right now, I am just doing all the weekly events when they come out on Thursdays. It's usually 2 or 3 hours, really chillaxed stream. Come hang out if you want. As more games come out that I get more and more comfortable with, I will start playing those as well. If you want to see some of my short films that I've worked on, mostly all of them, you should actually follow Adam and check out his stuff because for quite a lot of it, I helped shoot it in some way, shape, or form. So, Scrappy Doo with a zero if you want to follow me in my live streams, or AN Productions if you want to see some of the short films that I've worked on.
And that is Jim. Jim, you are officially my Star Trek guy. Whenever I have nothing else I have to talk about and I want to talk about Star Trek, you're the guy I'm going
I'm
to go
glad
to.
it's when nothing else is left.
Yes, yes. You are always the last in line. No, it is good to talk about Star Trek with somebody because I love Star Trek. I've always loved Star Trek. I've always been a Trekker. And admittedly, I think you're a bigger Trekker than me in several aspects because, like, I don't have any toys or really memorabilia other than the ones that you gave me, which are on my shelf behind me. They're just on the bottom shelf, and I'm covering them.
And I'm disappointed that it's Kirk, Spock, and
Khan,
not McCoy.
Not McCoy. I do have
actually
no. I do have action figures of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. They're just at my other house.
I couldn't find those.
Yeah, they're in the TOS uniforms though, not the red ones. But yeah, I think I accidentally created a monster with you. And yeah, it could be worse. It could be raining.
It's raining right now, actually, outside.
Oh, is it? It is.
It is humid. I'm sweating like crazy.
It is humid here, but it is also 70 degrees here, and it's sunny all week. So very happy about that because it's literally been nothing but rain here for the last 3 weeks.
Same.
Every day. It's been. I've been so
awful.
So miserable.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is. It is awful. Well, anyways, thank you so much for joining, everybody. Again, all my social media is in the description below. You can find me at Facebook at Adam Noyce Productions. That is me on Facebook if you want to check that out. I have a lot of posts there, a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures, and a lot of updates. Also go there. And if you wish to subscribe to me, well, you could just hit the subscribe button. But you can find me at AN Productions official channel. That is my YouTube, YouTube URL. You can subscribe to me there. Or, of course, you can go to my website, and that is www.adamnproductions.com, and you'll have a lot of stuff there, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff there, a lot of good pictures, a lot of funny content there, along with all the stuff that you can find on YouTube as well. It would be good just to pop on over and check it out. It's a good archive as well. So, again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, peace out, gentlemen.